phone. Hello guys, good afternoon. Welcome to the stream. Nice to see you all in chat already. Hope you're having a good weekend. And yeah, so episode 18 of the Army Show is up today, and included in today is a giveaway for members for Space Marine bikes. So if you are a member of the channel and you haven't entered yet, then I guess you've got like an hour to enter. And if you want to enter, just go over to the members room in Discord. You can enter there real quick. But yeah, I guess we'll give some bikes away like halfway through the stream, and then next week I guess we'll give bikes away to everybody, not just members only. So, cool. Hope you're all doing well. Thanks for the shout out on audio, and yeah, we got 5 lists to look over today as always, and they are. Let me just go to the right folder, which is not there. Lists. And we have James Bullock and Matt Grounds, who are both members, and then Ryan Cutter, Simon Canelon, hope I said that right, and Tom McPherson. So 5 lists to look over as always, and yeah, I mean, if you are new here and you want to see more Blood Angels content every week, then you can hit the subscribe button. That's always appreciated. We are trying to build followers on Twitch as well, so if you want to follow us on Twitch, you can do that too. We got a lot of new followers on Twitch last night. It was kind of awesome. And then if you want to submit your list, I'll show you how to do that really quickly. So all you would do is you would head over to the Blood Angels Commander YouTube channel, which is here. And then you would click on Community. And within the latest community post, you can see, obviously this one is members only, but just the latest community post that is here, just go ahead and comment your list into the video description. And you can just use your list, you know, as however it comes out of Battlescribe or the Games Workshop app, just something that I can read easily, like a text file. Sometimes people send them as like Excels and stuff, and that just makes it very difficult. So just drop it in as text, and we will pick it up and take it from there. So, yeah, awesome. And then the only other thing to say is tomorrow night, we've had a few requests now to see how the army list that I've been playing does against a heavily OBSEC Necron list. And pretty much an hour after the stream ends, we will share the battle for tomorrow night. So tomorrow night at 7:30, we're playing Necrons. They're bringing 80 Necron warriors, and they all have OBSEC. And I obviously just have my one troop choice with OBSEC, so I guess we'll see how we cope against a ridiculous amount of Necron warriors, all with OBSEC. And yeah, so that's coming tomorrow night as well. So that should be a pretty difficult game. I mean, we'll be able to kill a lot of Necrons, but whether or not we'll be able to shift them effectively off primaries and score points is another question. So cool. So let me just check. Yeah, it looks good. So list number 1 today, and what we also like to do is make sure that the lists fit on the screen. And in the top right hand corner of the screen, we will put the name of the list that we're looking at. So in terms of this first list, it's going to be by James Bullock, and after the stream ends, I will post all the lists in the comments for the stream. So if there's any lists that you really liked from today's show, you can grab those lists and you can have a look at them straight from the stream comments. Do you take thin the ranks in that situation? Do you know what? Last time I fought against that many Necron warriors, I didn't take thin the ranks and I ended up tabling them. So I think you do take thin the ranks, because 80 warriors, even if you just kill the 80 warriors, that's 8 victory points. Then how many of them are going to come back alive with the reanimation protocols? Probably at least like 20. So you're at 10 victory points before you even get started killing the rest of his army. So yeah, I think you do take thin the ranks in that situation. I guess we'll see, but I think it is a good pick. I mean, the other option I suppose would be grind them down, but I think thin the ranks is going to be a good amount of points. As long as nothing happens. Good luck in your game, Steel Rain. Cool. Alright, so let's start with James's list today. And as always, if there's any questions in the chat, just fire them out and I will try and get to them. Sometimes when we get busy, we don't answer every questions, but there's always community members in the chat. They're awesome and very helpful as well. So if you've got any questions, you can just fire them in there. Alright, so James, just looking for some opinions on my current list. I know the bike is more effective than a jump pack captain, but given the army is pretty much all jetpacks, I wanted to keep with the theme. I've spent an awful lot of command points pre-game, maybe too many. And then a little emoji of like a pondering face. I actually don't know what you would call that emoji, but it is some sort of pondering face. I wouldn't say the bike captain is more efficient than the jump captain. I'd just say he's more survivable. I mean, the jump captain gets bonuses when you have to go through buildings and stuff like that, right? So, it's 150 enemy models killed, or you get 1 victory point for every model with 10 or more wounds. So last time I fought him, he had a bunch of stuff with 10 or more wounds. This time I don't think there is anything. So thin the ranks. Yeah, it's a tough one. I mean, he's got scarabs that'll be resurrecting for sure. He's got I actually don't remember the name of all the Necron stuff. Is it like Criplex or something that go with that new Chronomancer unit? Again, they'll probably reanimate a bit. So, and then I actually didn't check if he has any resurrection orbs. If he's got resurrection orbs, it might be interesting. We'll have to think about it, I guess. Okay, but I mean, it is probably going to be like, if you just kill the Necron warriors, you're probably still going to get 10 VP, and at that point, that's probably a pretty decent mark. Alright, so this first list has got Patrol Detachment, and it's the Knights of Baal. We don't see these guys very often, but here we go. The Veil of Time, the Null Aura, and the Psychic Fortress. And he has the Chief Librarian with the Force Sword and the Jump Pack. We then have the Sanguinary Priest, who is got the Chain Sword, the Chief Apothecary, the Selfless Healer, and the Jump Pack, of course. And for troop choice, it's 1 Infiltrator Squad. Cryptex. Are you talking about the Thralls? Yeah, resurrected models count for each time they die, and sometimes he has resurrection orbs and all sorts of nonsense, so you could probably end up getting 10 VP just from those Necron warriors, and then you've got the whole rest of his army to kill. Good morning, Jeff, how you doing? For elites in this detachment, we've got 9 Sanguinary Guard with swords, and we've got 10 Vanguard veterans with lightning claws. We then have 4 Inceptors, the Plasma variety, and 1 Eradicator squad with melt rifles. So straight away, this feels a lot like the list that we looked at last week that won the tournament, right? You know, it's like 9 Sanguinary Guard, 4 Inceptors, Eradicators with melt rifles. And then the second patrol detachment, we have a Chaplain who is Master of Sanctity. He is the icon of the angel, and he also has the Wiserator, which is sort of important, I suppose, if the Chaplain is going to be deep striking. We have a Chapter Master who has Artisan of War, Gift of Foresight, so he has Adamantium Mantle, he has the Angels of Artifice, so he's got that 2+ save, he has Toughness 5, he has a Relic Blade. Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty decent Chapter Master. It's a little bit annoying that the app that he's using, maybe this is a Games Workshop app, it isn't showing the points cost for each unit, but I mean, it's fine. Hey Highland, how you doing? And then we have troops. Intercessors, 1 squad, and then 2 5-man small death companies with chainswords. Good morning, Carrie from Western Canada. Nice. Okay, so he said he spent a lot of CP before the battle got started. He's got 2 CP spent for one of the patrol detachments. I guess he's got a Hero of the Chapter spent on the Sanguinary Priest, so that's 3 CP. He's got a Hero of the Chapter spent on the Chaplain, so that's 4 CP. An Icon of the Angel and the Chaplain, that's 5 CP. The Angel's Artifice, or sorry, the Artisan of War from the Angel's Exemplar, so that's 6 CP. So he's starting with 6 CP, I think. Yeah. So, I mean, I think that's fine. I'm spending 8 before the battle on my list. So, I guess it's questionable why I'm spending 8. Yeah, YouTube puts some sort of delay into videos. I'm not entirely sure why. You get to pick like normal latency, low latency, or ultra low latency on YouTube. Maybe I need to change it. I've just got it set as normal. I mean, maybe there's a I don't know why. I can't change it once the stream started. I'll have a look at it for next time and work out why the latency is different, I guess. Recommended drops the intercessors to assault intercessors, saves 5 points and upgrades some random things. Assault intercessors make more of Blood Angel's buff too. Yeah, I mean, that is true. I'd almost say, is there a way we could get in cursors in here? Yeah, it's a little bit annoying that it doesn't put the points cost on all these things, so it's harder to make tweaks when you don't know the... I mean, I know some of these point costs off the top of my head, right? But, it's quicker to make the tweaks if you can see it. Right. Okay, so... Sanguinary Guard, Vanguard Veteran, 2 Death Company with Chainswords, Chaplain, Chapter Master, Sanguinary Priest, Librarian, Intercessors, Infiltrators, Inceptors, and Eradicators. So it's a little bit close combat, a little bit more close combat than what I normally run. About 300 points of shooting here. I think my current list spends 10 or 11 before the game starts. 6 seems pretty much fine. Yeah, I think that 4 is a little bit low. I start the game with 4 and I feel like that's a little bit low, but I think just 1 more would be fine. Starting with 5 or 6 is fine. I would probably look at one. So, Death Company with Chainswords and Jump Packs are 25 points per model. Everyone here follow on Twitch. Yeah, I mean, if you can follow on Twitch as well, it would be much appreciated. So, Death Company Marines with Jump Packs are 125 points in Chainswords. So I would swap one of these squads out for a Whirlwind to give you that ability to fight first in any situation and the ability to turn off enemy overwatch. I mean, I'm going to use the Whirlwind tomorrow night against the Necron Warriors, because if I do charge those Necron Warriors and they have 40 Strength 5 shots at -2, if I charge them with Sanguinary Guard or Vanguard Veterans, or even the Centurions, for example, they're going to take a lot of damage before they get in. I think I worked out that if he overwatches with a blob of 20 Necrons, he's going to kill a couple of models, right? Because it's going to be 40 shots, hitting on 3s. Sometimes if they're within range of the Necron Lord, they can reroll 1s. So you end up getting about 30... not 30, sorry, you end up... if you just shoot normally, you end up getting about 30 hits, but with Overwatch, I guess, you could potentially get, on a good roll, maybe as many as 10 hits, wounding on 3s, and then only saving on, 4s. Could be pretty nasty. If I was him, I would Overwatch those Necrons when I charge them. So having the Whirlwind preventing that is pretty nice. It's a simple thing to include. I literally have a Whirlwind that... literally right behind me. I'm putting paint on my one right now. Include a Whirlwind in your list. Drop those 5 Death Company. I think you'll get more benefit from it. And there is other things that the Whirlwind can do from time to time, right? If you end up fighting against Sisters of Battle, it can kill things. I ended up fighting against a Chaos list that had Chaos Cultists sitting on a backfield objective. I mean, the Whirlwind killed 8 of them in a single turn and made them burn 2 CP to insane bravery them. So the Whirlwind can do some stuff. It can also hold an objective pretty effectively. I think that I agree with Mark in that your Assault Intercessors here are kind of wasted. You could do 5. Sorry, your regular Intercessors are kind of wasted. You could probably do Assault Intercessors and put an Infernal Pistol into one of your Sanguinary Guards, or put an Infernal Pistol on the Vanguard Veteran Sergeant. That would work as well. And then the one other thing that we talk about is how many 3 damage weapons does this army have, right? Because from now on, I'm going to be including this as a category in my in the specialization section. And the reason that I'm including it is because if you come up against Death Guard and you've only got 2 damage weapons, all your weapons are halved. And this is what I said about that tournament winning list from a few weeks back. The tournament winning list was good, but He didn't. I don't think he fought. No, he definitely didn't fight against Death Guard because I asked him who he fought against. So he never had to deal with all the Sanguinary Guard, and he had 23 of them, which is like what are they 30 points per model. So he literally had 700 points of Sanguinary Guard, which are great against everything except Death Guard. So this list 3 damage weapons. I mean, you've got the Force Sword, which is D3, so it's not reliable 3 damage. You've got the 3 Eradicators. You've got the Chaplain when his Mantra of Strength is up. So again, it's not reliable 3 damage. You've got an Infernal Pistol on the Chaplain, an Infernal Pistol on the Chapter Master. And that's it. You know, so like you're talking like 5 3 damage weapons. I'm thinking that you need like 10 plus now to be really effective. I guess the Melter Rifles can shoot twice, but they're no different from bikes and a multi-melta. And I think Benjamin's pointing out in the chat that he has 1 squad of Inceptors. It's a 4-man and 1 heavy support Eradicator. So I think that's a high volume of 1 damage weapons is easily equivalent of D3 plus. Yeah, that is true. But chain swords aren't going to be super effective against Death Guard. Vanguard Veterans Lightning Claws are not going to be super effective either, I guess, because Death Guard are on toughness 5. So yeah, for me personally, like I feel like this list doesn't quite have enough damage 3 weapons in it, and also I feel like the shooting is a little less than what I would like to bring. So the tournament winning list ran 2 squads of Eradicators with the heavy melt rifles and then 5 Inceptors, right? So basically like 3 more Eradicators, so double Eradicators and 1 more Inceptor. For my shooting, I'm running the Tap Bikes, which are pretty much the same as a regular Eradicator squad, just a lot more mobile and a bit more survivable. And then 2 Redemptors, which I guess is probably 2 Redemptors against an Inceptor squad of 4. I feel like, yeah, against infantry, the Inceptors are probably going to do a little bit better, but against armour and stuff, the Redemptors will probably come out on top. And the Redemptors, you know, now have that heavy 8 onslaught, which is not bad at all. So I think it's a little bit light on shooting. I don't think it's the end of the world. I just think it's a little bit light, and it's a little bit light on 3 damage weapons, and also no Whirlwind, I guess. Apart from that, I like it. I mean, it's hard not to like, you know, like Librarian, the Priest, the Chapter Master, plus 1 other character, because all those characters are really good. They all bring value to the table. They all improve what you've already got. Yeah, I mean, 2 damage halved. I guess, yeah, there's going to be some contention around that, but I think that I think it's important to have a variety of multiple high damage weapons, and once you've played against Death Guard enough and you've realised that 2 damage halved is just brutal, especially on, like, you know, the guy I play, Colin, I think he might be bringing 10 Death Shroud Terminators next game. So if you don't have a reliable way to do a decent amount of damage to those Death Shroud, then they're going to be around, they're going to be in your face for multiple turns. And you know, this list could get some more decent damage weapons fairly easily, right? I mean, another option, I suppose, is you could just drop these Death Company Marines and add like another Inceptor and another couple of Eradicators. I mean, that would be similar as well. It's annoying to have to take the 2 troop choices and the double patrol, I guess, because I don't think these intercessors bring all that much to the table, really. Good luck in your game, Roadkill. And then starting to notice there's no Whirlwind. I can't take this call right now. I'll have to take it afterwards. Does the Judicar work as a substitute to the Whirlwind? I mean, he does in a certain way, I guess. The issue with the Judicar is they obviously nerfed his they nerfed the range. He can do his Temper Mortis. So, and because he doesn't have a jump pack, you're running him around slowly. I mean, some people take like Selfless Valor on the Judicar, but then if like I don't know how you could fit Judicar into this list, because then you're putting yourself on 5 characters. You're opening yourself up for Assassinate, and the Whirlwind also adds the denial of Overwatch. You know, so its stratagem is a little bit more versatile than the other options. So, yeah, I mean, and the strength of the Whirlwind is like the Whirlwind never really dies, right? Like it just hides for most of the game, 72 inches away from the enemy. If you're saying if you make an anti-Death Guard list, it's not going to be well rounded enough to take on any list, because I'm not confident on that. I'm trying to build lists that take on everything, right? Like, I think that's the thing that you need to build, Adam. Like, you don't want to build a list that only takes on Death Guard. You don't want to build a list that only takes on something else. So, I think what you need to be aiming for now is to... Yeah, I mean, I tried running more than 4 characters, and I think it's too many in 9th edition. Like, it didn't go so well. I think 4 is really the limit. It's a lot of points to commit. I feel like, Martin. Like at 4 characters, if you think about like Librarian, the Sanguinary Priest, the Chaplain, and the Chapter Master. I mean, the Chaplain and the Chapter Master together are going to be like 300 points, and the other 2 together are going to be like another 250. So you're pushing like 600 points. So if you add another character, be it a Judicar, be it an Apothecary, or whatever it is, you're now pushing like 700 points in characters. I think it's just getting an awful lot. So I think you can get away with 4, but like I wouldn't go higher than 4. I don't think. Yeah, I mean, I tried it one time, and the 5th one I actually chose was the Chapter Champion, who is a really cheap character at only 70 points. But even that, I think, pushed me up a little bit too much. Okay, so let's go ahead and score James's list, and he does have Veil of Time, though, and he does have Null Zone, and he does have Psychic Fortress, so he has some useful utility from this Librarian. And yeah, I mean, I really think that the regular Intercessors can go, maybe, and one squad of Death Company with Chainswords could go for a Whirlwind, and then yeah, I mean, the other option is to burn the 2nd detachment as a Vanguard detachment or something, and get rid of this 100 points of troops, and then push them. Like 1 more Inceptor, 1 more Eradicator. Like that would maybe be nicer. 4 Eradicators, 5 Inceptors. There's definitely something maybe you could think about doing that. Okay. Right, let's see if we can't score this first list. So objective holding, I guess, is going to be lower in that, like, it's just 1 Phobos troop, and he does have a 2nd troop choice, so maybe like a 7.5 for OBSEC, just 2 units. It's kind of average, but I mean, it's not the end of the world. Having OBSEC can be important. I guess we'll really find out how having important OBSEC is tomorrow when I play against a Necron list that is entirely OBSEC and I have my 1 OBSEC unit. Okay, next up is how good is it going to be against hordes and infantry? Well, we've got the Sanguinary Guard, 9 of them, that can do a little bit of shooting, and we have the Inceptors that can arrive and do a bit of shooting as well. I mean, we've got Death Company we can slam into hordes, we've got Lightning Claws that we can slam into hordes, but in terms of like overall firepower, we're kind of on a bit of a lower scale here. I wouldn't be comfortable running this list. I don't think it's got enough firepower. But, I mean, yeah, maybe like, I'm feeling like maybe an 8. maybe it could be 8-5, but yeah, maybe an 8. And then how are we going to do against armor and stuff? I mean, Eradicators do fine against armor. The Sanguinary Guard do great. Lightning Club Vanguard Veterans generally do okay. You've got your Chapter Master, you've got your Chaplain that can do Mantra of Strength. You've got Librarian to do Null Zone, and I guess there's 10 Death Company with Chainswords here as well. So I mean, armor's less of a problem, I think. It's maybe like a 9, but I think we do have a lack of 3 damage weapons, which is something that I want to address in the specialization section. And then mobility wise, like everything is mobile except the Eradicators, the Inceptors, and Infiltrators aren't mobile, but they do get guerrilla tactics. So yeah, Tycho is still dead today. He has been dead for like a long time, and I don't know why he has a model. He was dead last night, he's dead today. And then finally, yeah, I mean, no Whirlwind, so no Overwatch Denial. No, what did we say? Not a huge amount of 3 damage weapons. I mean, let me just count again. It's 2 Infernal Pistols. I guess the Chaplain can have his Crozius go to 3 damage if he does Mantra of Strength. You've got the 3 Eradicators, so that's 5. And then you've got your Force Sword, which can do 3 occasionally. So, yeah, I mean, like 5 3 damage weapons. I think I looked at my list, and I think I have 12. I maybe need to double check that, but yeah, I think I have 12 because I've got 2 heavy plasma cannons on one on each Redemptor. I've got 3 attack bikes with multi-melted, so that gives me 5. I've got an Infernal Pistol and a Thunderhammer on my Chapter Master, that gives me 7. I've got a Meltagun on my Librarian, that's 8. I've got the Force Sword on my Librarian, that's 9. I've got... what else have I got? I've got the 3 drills on the Centurions, that's 12. That might be it, I think. But yeah, I mean, 12 3 damage weapons against 5. I mean, I don't think it's not super important. You probably still can beat Death Guard without... does he worry about Death Guard too much? I think we all have to worry about Death Guard right now. And I guess when you're thinking about hordes, Adam, like I generally want... sorry, not Adam, Mark. I generally... oh, that's the wrong picture. That's an old picture. When I'm scoring against hordes, I'm thinking about your blast and clear ability, not your ability to kill them with your melee troops, right? And the reason that I'm thinking that way is like, yeah, Sanguinary Guard can absolutely destroy Poxwalkers, right? But do you really want your Sanguinary Guard having to deal with... I mean, I guess I'm not seeing this as more of like, as how effective is it going to be against a horde army. It's more about how effective is it going to be against clearing the units that are going to make it a problem. Like, if the enemy has a ton of, like, someone said for the gaming tomorrow, like, Andrew should take a bunch of Scarabs, right, so that I can never charge the Chronomancer or something, right? So, like, if he has a bunch of Scarabs and they're screened and they're well placed and I can never charge the Chronomancer, then the only way I can get rid of those Scarabs is shooting. So if I don't have the shooting to get rid of the chaff targets, then how do I make the charges against the targets that actually count? And this list has a bit of shooting. Maybe I'm being a bit harsh here on the 8. Maybe it's an 8-5. But I think it's something to consider as well. For watching on Twitch, says Psycho. Thank you so much, guys. Yeah, it's for clearing screens, really. And then I guess we'll see tomorrow when I play Necrons how we do against the big horde army. But yeah, 12 3 damage weapons in my list against 5, and I think what I was saying on the stream last week or the week before was like 10 3 damage weapons seems like a nice balance, probably, where it's like if you do run up into Death Guard, you're not just going to have like half your army do half damage, because that will lose you the game. That's pretty brutal. So 5 3 damage weapons for me right now is not enough. And yeah, maybe I worry most about Death Guard because Colin has some really nasty jinxy stuff that you can play on Death Guard, but Death Guard are like going to be super prevalent in the meta. I think in these coming years, their book that came out at the moment is super strong, right? And yeah, there's probably a bit of power creep as well, as Adam says in the Death Guard Codex. So yeah, it just is what it is. Gitley has given this list 41 and a half out of 50, and I think I was going to score about 8 for specialization, so I'm going to bring it in as a 41. And I think if it had a tiny little bit more shooting and a tiny little bit more of 3 damage weapons, it could be like 42, 43. And at that point, right, once you're in the sort of mid to high 40s, I think the highest list we've ever had is like 46, and we've had 2 or 3 lists around 44, 45. But you can't really score much higher than that, because if you're gonna be the most amazing list ever at killing vehicles, you're gonna have to give up something somewhere else, right? So it's not a bad list, James, and I think with a few improvements, you know, like if we got a whirlwind in there, maybe it's like plus 1 more point. The whirlwind obviously can kill chaff units, so maybe that gives you a little bit more anti-infantry or clear as well. I'm not sure about this extra Inceptor squad. You know, or Intercessor squad. I'd almost either make them Assault Intercessors or change one of your detachments to a Vanguard detachment and just get rid of it and spend the 100 points, maybe like buffing up your Eradicators and your Inceptors. Eradicators are 45 points a model, Inceptors are 55, right? So you could literally drop that and you could add 1 Inceptor and 1 Eradicator. That makes you have 5 Inceptors, which is the same as what that tournament winning list had, 5 Inceptors, and then the tournament winning list obviously had 6 Eradicators, but still 4 I suppose is a little bit better. Mark actually says this list is a bit more melee focused. Maybe, yeah, you're maybe right. 50 is out there, well maybe. Yeah, I mean if anyone ever scores 50, yeah, and then the other option, as Gitley says, is you could drop 1 Sanguinary Guard. I suppose, yeah, the Sanguinary Guard would make more sense to drop 1 because you could combat squad your Vanguard veterans. So you could drop 1 Sanguinary Guard and make these into infiltrators. That would actually give you 10 extra points, so then you could throw like an Infernal Pistol into both your Sanguinary Guard and Vanguard veteran squads. That puts you up to 7 3 damage weapons. I mean, I'm just talking 3 or more potential damage weapons, right? Obviously in close range in combat, the Infernal Pistol can do 8 damage, so it's a great weapon to have. So yeah, hopefully that was interesting, James. Thank you for the list submission, and hopefully we gave you some pointers that maybe help you out. And yeah, you do not need 9 Sanguinary Guard in a squad, as Gitley says. The only thing that you're not going to kill in a single turn with like 8 Sanguinary Guard in a squad is some sort of like armor. And if your Sanguinary Guard are near if they are near your chapter master and they do have like the rerolls of 1s, so basically they're hitting on 2s and they're rerolling 1s, 8 of them is going to do a huge amount of damage. I think we fought against an Astraeus heavy tank a few weeks back, and the Astraeus had that stratagem from the Iron Hands that gives it -1 to all damage, similar to the Death Guard. It's called Ironstone when the Iron Hands use it. And if he hadn't had Ironstone up, then I think the Sanguinary Guard would have done like 26 wounds in a single turn against a super heavy tank that only has 30 wounds. And that's a 700 point tank, and that was 8 Sanguinary Guard, right? So 9 in most cases is probably going to be overkill, but I mean it's definitely a solid core of a list, and you can probably build it out into something really great with not a lot of tweaks. So yeah, I'm not sure I've seen James actually hang out too much in the chat, but hopefully this helps him a bit. Alright, so we're going to do one other list from the members, and then we'll do the member giveaway. And if you haven't entered the giveaway yet, you can do. You've got like 10 more minutes to do it, or well, maybe it take maybe like 25 minutes to do this list. So you've got a few more minutes to do it. You need to go over to the members only channel and just drop your name in here if you'd like to enter. Inner Spatial says he'd like to enter as well, so we'll add him to the list, and we're gonna do this giveaway after this. He's not already on the list, is he? No. Okay. Right. Next list then is by Matt Grounds, and I'm not sure I really know Matt all that well either, unless, I haven't seen him too much in the live chat either, I don't think. But I mean, that's fine. Some people hang out in the live chat and like to be really chatty, some people not so much. Alright. Christian Forget. I'm not sure what you mean by Christian Forget, but hello, the Lunch Marshal, thanks for tuning in. Hey John, could you add this list to the queue please? It's my first one, so any suggestions or relic strats and traits would be massively appreciated. I figure my captain will support the chunk of Terminators when they drop in, whilst the bike chaplain will zoom out with the Death Company and Outriders to start putting dents and stuff before my Vanguard veterans clean up with their claws and shields. Librarian Dread might sit in the middle or support the Incursors at the back. Razorback can help the Assault Intercessors survive, and the Predator's probably just a bullet magnet, but that's what I've got right now. Thank you. Oh, he didn't ask to be entered. Okay, sorry, I just glanced at it quickly. I can take him back off the list. Right. So this is Matt's first list. Okay, so I guess... Oh, Matt, hello. I'm here, Blood Angels Commander. This is my first list, so go easy. I haven't actually had a chance to get on the tabletop yet, so I've got my notepad, and any suggestions for better synergies, litanies, etc. is appreciated. Alright, Matt, cool. Thank you so much for the list submission, and thanks for being here on the day. It sometimes helps if there's any questions. Alright, cool. So it is a battalion detachment, and we are starting with one additional relic. So we basically start this list with 10 CP. It seems like a lot, but I guess let's get into it and see. My lists I usually start with 4 CP, so sometimes there's an opportunity to spend a few more CP before the battle starts, and I usually think that's quite worth it, right? Because if you think about it, like if you use a stratagem on a single turn, usually it benefits like for one phase or one action or one attack or something like that, or one armor save. Whereas if you spend the 1 CP on a relic or a hero of the chapter before the game, then that benefits that unit for the entire game, right? As long as they stay alive. So usually like I said, at the moment I'm spending 8 CP before the battle starts on my list, but I'm going to actually lower it to 7 because 8 CP is actually quite a lot. So let's have a look then. So we start with the captain on the Terminator armor, and he's got a mastercrafted weapon and the Storm Shield and the Thunderhammer. So the mastercrafted Thunderhammer on the Terminator is actually pretty interesting. Against the Hammer of Baal, it's sort of 50-50 in terms of damage output. We then have the Librarian Dreadnought. He has Unleash Rage, he has Gift of Foresight, he has Wings of Sanguinius, he has a Stormbolter, and he is the Warlord, and he has Angels of Exemplar. So you've got one too many... Oh no, Gift of Foresight is a Warlord trait. Okay. Let me think about this for 1 second. And then your third HQ is a Chaplain on the Bike, who is the Litany of Faith, Litany of Hate, and the Visage of Death. And it's the Primaris Chaplain on a Bike. Okay. I feel like... Do you know what? We'll go through the whole list, and then we'll make some points, because I've picked up a few things already. We then have one Assault Intercessor squad, 2 Incursor squads, all 5-man. The Death Company, we've got 2, 4, 6, 7 Death Company with chainswords, 1 with a Thunderhammer. We have a Terminator Assault Squad, which has 5 with Lightning Claws, Storm Shields and Thunderhammers, 4 with Lightning Claws, pair, and then the Sergeant with Lightning Claws. I actually much prefer the Sergeant to be carrying a Thunderhammer for the extra attack, just because I feel like there's more value in that, but some people prefer the Sergeant with the Lightning Claw. I prefer it on the Thunderhammer. Vanguard veterans, we've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 Lightning Claw and Storm Shield, and the Sergeant with Relic Blade and Storm Shield. Fast attack is 3 Outriders. Heavy support is a Baal Predator with twin assault cannon and twin heavy flamer, and then a Razorback with a hunter killer missile and a twin las cannon. Okay, interesting. So first off, and some people might disagree with me on this, I feel like Gift of Foresight isn't going to give you the greatest value on the Librarian Dreadnought, and it's mainly because the Librarian Dreadnought doesn't get a Oh, and hold on, you've played Angel's Exemplar. I'm not sure what you've played Angel's Exemplar for. This is a Games Workshop app one, right? So like, I'm just gonna say what I would do. I would give Gift of Foresight onto your captain in Terminator armor, right? Because your captain's gonna he's normally always gonna get a save, especially like he's on a 1+ save with a Storm Shield, 4+ invulnerable save. So giving him Gift of Foresight is gonna make him like a lot more survivable, and also his Thunderhammer, which you've mastercrafted, is going to be -1 to hit. So being able to re-roll one of your misses every turn. Remember, it's every turn, so it's both your turn and the enemy's turn. You'll be able to re-roll those on, and then re-roll 1 wound as well. That'll give him like great value, and you can keep the Librarian Dreadnought as your Warlord if you want. However, it's probably the wrong pick, right? Because you get a free relic on your Warlord, and the Librarian Dreadnought cannot take a relic. So I'd probably make your captain in Terminator armor your Warlord, and I'd give him Gift of Foresight. So your relic on your captain, the mastercrafted weapon, and the Gift of Foresight is fine. I'd also try and make this, like, if you're dead set on Unleash Rage, because I feel like Quickening is what gives Librarian Dreadnought like a lot of his power, or a good amount of his power, because Quickening is a psychic power that lets him reroll his charges and add D3 attacks. I get that Unleash Rage is going to potentially work better, and it's going to like synergize with your Death Company or your Salt Terminators or your Vanguard Veterans. So at that point, I'd be trying to find 25 points to make him the Chief Librarian and take like Unleash Rage and Quickening and Wings of Sanguinius. And the Warlord trait I like to put on the Librarian Dreadnought is actually Iron Resolve, because it pushes him up to 9 wounds and gives him that 6+ Feel No Pain. That Feel No Pain can obviously be used against like any time he Pearls of the Warp when he does Psychic, and I'm not sure what, if you make him the Chief Librarian, then you could give him the Psychic Mastery trait, but I think Iron Resolve is fine. And I guess if you don't want to find the 25 points, then just keep Unleash Rage, keep Wings of Sanguinius, but probably give him Iron Resolve and move the Gift of Foresight onto your captain, because it's going to make your captain a lot better. If you want to make your captain even stronger, then you could play Angel's Exemplar on the captain, but you just need to remember you get that 1 Warlord trait and that 1 relic for free, essentially, and because the Librarian Dreadnought cannot equip relics, then you're kind of wasted there. You basically pay 1 CP to Hero of the Chapter him. So yeah, do something like, I'll put this here and then I'll throw it away, but I would do like Gift of Foresight, and yeah, so he's already got his mastercrafted weapon, and I would give this guy Iron Resolve, and you don't need to play Angel's Exemplar on him anymore. You would just pay 1 CP for Hero of the Chapter. Your Primaris Chaplain on a bike, because he doesn't have Mantra of Strength, I'd be tempted. Oh, and I guess you've got Visage of Death on him. Okay, I'd be tempted to give him something like Imperium Sword, which is like +1 attacks, +1 strength on charging, on obviously if you're charged and heroic intervened as well. So you could pay 1 more CP and just basically give this guy like a pretty useful Warlord trait for the entire game. That'll move him up to Strength 7, which means wounding toughness 6 of zone 2s. I mean, it's not going to make too much difference, I guess, in terms of your wound rolls, but it's going to grant him an extra attack every turn. The other option would be Champion of Humanity, which you could use But yeah, Imperium Sword seems like an all-round pick to just give him an extra attack and an additional strength. So I guess if we don't fight toughness 6 things so often, but if you do come up against toughness 6, it's just going to be a little bit easier for you to wound. And yeah, some people are recommending quickening. If you want him to be a beat stick, the Librarian Dreadnought, and I think Iron Resolve lets him be a beat stick, right? Because he's 9 wounds and he's really he's got that 6+ feel no pain. So I think if you want him to be a beat stick, you could take quickening. But I guess like because you've got this massive squad of Terminators and this large squad of Lightning Claw Vanguard Vets, I can totally understand why you feel like there's a lot of value in Unleash Rage. And the Librarian obviously can be wherever he needs to be with Wings of Sanguinius, so he should always be in Rage for Unleash Rage. Just it plays him a little bit more as a support Librarian. I mean, he can still do decent, right? Like, he's still going to get, what, like 7 attacks in combat, 6 at 3 damage, and 1 at D3 plus 3. I actually want to start bringing the Librarian with me in my army. I want to drop my Death Company Captain and include him. I think he's pretty strong. So, next up, troop choices, and I think incursors are great. They're good. They're a good offensive troop choice. You know, you can deploy them into deep positions. You can hold. You can almost create like little forts that the rest of you guys, can come forward. Yeah, I mean, you could also pay another CP. Highland's pointing out in the chat that you could pay another CP to use the Angel's Exemplar on this Terminator Captain and give him something that makes him even more survivable, right? Like, you could give him the Shield Eternal to essentially get like a 5++ feel no pain. It's another option. And the way you do that is you pick like Artisan of War as your second Warlord trait, and you can go around like that, or you can use something else interesting like Soul Warden and give a lot like an aura of feel no pain bubbles. But yeah, definitely have a look at Angel's Exemplar if you make these changes. I think that's pretty decent. So the troop choices are fine. I don't run Assault Intercessors so often. I find quite often, because they have to run on their feet, they often get killed in no man's land for me, because people know that they do a lot of attacks, people know that they can attack twice. So when I was running them, very rarely did I find I got value in them. Like, I always got value out of the Phobos troops, but I always felt the Assault Intercessors, if they make it into combat, they do great, but quite often people would just prioritise them and shoot them off the board. But I mean, sometimes that's okay. You know, like, sometimes if the enemy's going to spend their time shooting, like, let's say, our Assault Intercessors off the board, and you've got other big units getting into combat, then sometimes that's fine. It can be, you know, it can be not a big deal at all. They are a cheap squad at 95 points, so maybe they are worth including. But I mean, more incursors or infiltrators just maybe edge it for me. But at the same time, like, this is fine. The fact that you can pay 2 CP to have them fight again means you can surprise the opponent occasionally with that. So yeah, it's fine. Next up is our Death Company, and having just one Thunderhammer in an 8-man squad feels like the wrong choice. Most people, I suppose, would advise you to have probably like 2 Thunderhammers in an 8-man squad. I kind of feel like it's okay, right? Because you've got the 10 Vanguard Vets that could be combat squadded, and you've got the 10 Terminators. I haven't read I never run 10 Terminators. I assume Terminators can still be combat squadded. Let me just check that Assault Terminators can be combat squad before I say, oh, it'll be fine because you can combat squad the Terminators. Terminators Assaults, yeah, they have combat squads. Okay, so Terminators can combat squad. So in that case, I think it's probably fine to just have the one Thunderhammer here, because you can combat squad both these if you need them to be in different parts of the battlefield. But for the most part, people would advise more than one It's really like one Thunderhammer every 5 models is what people advise. And you know what? When I look at this and I look at the points cost of 215 points, and I know off the top of my head, Sanguinary Guard are 30 points per model, so like 7 times 30 is 210. I'd probably be more tempted to run 7 Sanguinary Guard, like all with swords and bolt guns and like 1 Infernal Pistol over this Death Company. I think they'll be more survivable. They'll probably be able to do more damage. The only advantage, I guess, in having the Death Company is you'll be able to potentially Forlorn Fury, and potentially, I suppose, you'll get that Feel No Pain. But Sanguinary Guard are kind of arguably our best unit. They've got, endgame they get 5 attacks per model. If they're near your Warlord, they all... And you've got a Terminator Captain here as your Warlord, so assume the Sanguinary Guard can be near him because he'll deep strike in. If they're near your Warlord, they hit on 2s and they reroll 1s essentially, which means 5 attacks per model. You basically have 35 swords. If you do the math, if you've got hits on 2 reroll 1s, I believe it's a 97% chance of hitting. So out of your 35 sword attacks, you're going to hit 34 basically. So to me, that feels like you would get a lot more value out of them than Death Company with chainswords. I mean, if you've got 34 2 damage swords hitting, as opposed to Death Company Marines with chainswords get 6 attacks each, and you've got 7 of them, but you only hit on 3s and you get no rerolls. So yeah, you're gonna get 7 more sword hits, and they're all gonna do 2 damage. Again, what we've talked about today is you're gonna get hurt a little bit if you come up against a Death Guard list with the Sanguinary Guard, but what have we got here? We've got 5 Thunderhammers. We've got a boatload of Lightning Claws. I guess we've got a Thunderhammer on this guy. We've got Librarian Dreadnought, who's got 3 damage. I feel like I would. The Death Company are fine, but I think that the Sanguinary Guard are going to perhaps do slightly better here, and yeah, that's something to mention as well, because Highland Phoenix is saying that. And Gitley is also saying if someone prioritizes your assault intercessors, you're over the moon. Yeah, that's true enough as well. So, for me, they often die in no man's land, but if people are shooting them, maybe that's fine. Yeah, it seemed, 27 chainsword attacks, the most damage they can do is 27, whereas your 34 Incarnate sword attacks, the most damage they can do is 68. So in most situations, your Sanguinary Guard are going to be able to do more damage, and they're probably going to survive better as well, because I think a 2+ save on the Sanguinary Guard versus the 3+ save on the Death Company actually makes a big difference, because when you get hit with low AP weapons on the Sanguinary Guard, they kind of just shrug it off. The amount of times I get hit with 0 AP weapons and it's just you just roll your save and it's a 2, but I still save it, Whereas if you get hit with a bunch of low AP weapons on the Death Company, you'll get hit with, 2s are going to be fails and you will lose models. So it's weird how only one difference on the save can actually feel like it makes a big difference in the game, but it does. But at the same time, there is a threat from Forlorn Fury, and yeah, that's what Gitley's saying in the chat as well. I do also wonder 10 Terminators. It seems like a bit much, You could, I get because you might want to combat squad them, but you could run 8 Terminators. I think that if those Terminators make a charge, they're probably a little bit like the Sanguinary Guard, right? They're going to overkill whatever they charge into with 10 of them. So 10 of them is actually not going to be super efficient. And I do like an Infernal Pistol on the Vanguard Veteran Sergeant. I actually like a couple of Infernal Pistols in the Death Company as well. Let's say if we did drop 1 Thunderhammer Terminator, 1 Lightning Claw Terminator. I forget how many points off the top of my head each model is, but I think they're about 40, so it gives you 80 points. You could easily fit another Death Company Marine in there with a Thunderhammer. You could add a couple of Infernal Pistols. You could even add a Thunderhammer onto the Assault Intercessor Sergeant if you wanted as well, because we were talking a lot about getting a bunch of 3 damage weapons. I actually really like Benediction of Fury on the Primaris Chaplain on a bike. And I guess, do you know what? I would actually drop two of your Assault Terminators, because if you had 25 more points, you could make your Primaris Chaplain on the bike the Master of Sanctity, because it costs 25 more points. And when he's the Master of Sanctity, you get the second litany, so you can take your Mantra of Strength as your second litany, and rather than giving him Imperium Sword at that point, you give him the Wise Orator. And the Wise Orator is amazing because it makes both your litanies cast on 2s rather than one litany cast on 3s. And I think you'll find over the course of a game or whatnot that it's weird, when I have to cast my litanies on 3s, they always fail at critical times. But when I have to cast my litanies on 2s, it's like I always pass. And I think that's something to be said, the same as what we're saying about the Death Company saves versus the Sanguinary Guard saves. Sometimes it feels like there's no difference, but in certain situations against certain weapons or certain things, that 2+ save feels like super strong. And I think it's definitely something to consider. So I'd probably lose 2 Terminators. I'd get another I'd probably just get another Death Company Marine with a Thunder Hammer, or I'd throw away the whole Death Company and get Sanguinary Guard. I'd definitely upgrade my Chaplain, and I'd probably look to upgrade my Librarian as well, because I think you probably get enough points to do all that. You get 25 points to upgrade the Librarian, you get 25 points to upgrade the Chaplain, and then you get definitely enough points to get another Thunder Hammer into the Death Company. And I still think that 8-man Terminator squad does what it needs to do. If it makes the charge, it's going to remove a lot of units off the enemy's table. And I assume that the Terminator Assault Squad will come down somewhere near your Terminator Captain again, so they're going to get some sort of rerolls on their 1s or something like that. So, and someone also mentioned Teleport Homer. I kind of agree. The Teleport Homer on paper seems like it's great, but in the actual battlefield, because you usually deep strike the Terminators in turn 2, there's not really a good time to use the Teleport Homer, because you end up with them off the board for half the game, and you don't want a 380 point unit, and even if we remove the 2 guys, 300 point unit, you don't want a 300 point unit off the board for half the game. It's not efficient. They're survivable enough, right? Like with the Storm Shields, they're on a 1-up save, they have the 4+ invulnerable save, you can assign the wounds however you like, so you choose where the targets, you choose what ones you're taking the saves on. Hey Mick, thanks for tuning in. So that's how I would improve the beginning of your list. Then we move on to Outriders, the Ball Predator, and the Razorback. And Ball Predators aren't in a good spot right now. And this Ball Predator comes in at 165 points. And the Razorback comes in at 125 points, right? So first thing I would do is I'd swap the Razorback out for a Whirlwind. It's the exact same amount of points, 125. And what you'll get with the Whirlwind is Suppression Fire, which if you haven't watched a video on Suppression Fire, when I had this up earlier and accidentally pressed left, watch this video on my channel called Tactics Indirect Fire, and it will tell you that basically the Whirlwind is your best friend when it comes to screwing with the enemy's ability to fight back in close combat, or not even just fight back, just being able to fight you in close combat, and also removing all their overwatch, which can be very, very important against certain things. So I'd swap the Razorback out straight away. And the Ball Predator, to me, and then Outriders, I actually think Outriders are overcosted. We talked a little bit about this a few weeks ago on the channel. And the thing with Outriders is, if you compare them to attack bikes with multi-meltas now, and attack bikes with multi-meltas are generally just, 15 points more than the Outriders, and the Outriders fall off so hard after that first round of combat, right? It's great when they get that devastating charge, but beyond the devastating charge, there are a number of attacks. It's kind of, it's surprisingly poor. Let me just check here. I was looking for my phone, 1 sec. Just give it a second and it'll appear. I promise you it's coming. Here we go. Right. Outriders. flick past fast attack twice, so I should be able to find them. Inceptors, attack bikes, scout bikes, spikes, invader ATVs, outriders. Sorry. Here we go. Outriders. So they normally only have 2 attacks and the sergeant only has 3 attacks. So when you end up, if you end up charging an enemy and you don't kill them, you end up with just 8 attacks from the 3 outriders, and they're just chainswords with user strength. It's kind of pathetic. No, sorry, not even 8 attacks, 7 attacks. So like, if it's turn 3 and you have your outriders and you make a charge, your sergeant gets 5, you get 6 from the chainsword, you get your devastating charge, so you get 8, so you get 14 plus 8. So you get 22 attacks when you charge in turn 3. But then if the charge ends and you haven't killed the enemy, sorry, I forgot to add the one for the chainsword. So you get 10 attacks. So they lose like 60% of their effectiveness, right? They go from 22 attacks down to 10. So 10 divided by 22. So if you don't kill your target, they lose 55% of their effectiveness after the initial charge. And I mean, their initial charge is only chainswords, you know? So I thought Outriders used to be, 45 points per model? Or maybe even 40? I think it was 40. I think they were 120 for the squad. I didn't even think they were good at 120 for the squad. So I don't particularly think they're good at all at 150. But I think some people like them because, they are toughness 5, they do have a decent amount of wounds. If you have a priest, you can res them, but this list doesn't have a priest, so you lose that sort of synergy. And yeah, the Ball Predator is a strange one. So, I don't know if you own a Redemptor Dreadnought, Matt, but the next purchase I would make based on what you have here is a Redemptor Dreadnought. I mean, you don't have to. You could go Inceptors. I mean, a Ball Predator and Outriders, that's 315 points. 5 Plasma Inceptors are no, that's not 5, that's 2, John. 5 Plasma Inceptors are 275 points. You could drop your Ball Predator and your Outrider squad and take 5 Plasma Inceptors. I feel like that would be really strong. That was what the guy that won the tournament winning list this week ran. You could also run Eradicators. You could run 2 squads of Eradicators with those heavy melta rifles. That would do a lot of damage. Or the other thing that I've fallen back on recently and I've really enjoyed is Redemptor Dreadnoughts. And maybe it's just because I'm running 2 Redemptor Dreadnoughts in my current list. I actually just finished painting my other Redemptor Dreadnought this morning, pretty much. So I would really, you could run a Redemptor Dreadnought and 3 Eradicators. What would that if you run the Redemptor with the Macroplasma Cannon, the Onslaught Cannon, and the Rocket Pods? That's 185 plus 3 Eradicators with your regular melta rifles. I believe is 135 now. So that's 320. So you only need to find 5 points to make that work, and I like that. I mean, some people will tell you Inceptors are better, and I put Inceptors on my top 10 units for Blood Angels. But personally, I don't run them. I don't like plasma weaponry that has a chance to kill my own models. And I think maybe an Inceptors synergize better again with a Sanguinary Priest, because I guess if you lose an Inceptor, you can just pop one back to life. So maybe for me, Redemptors are a little bit better. Okay. And yeah, I mean, Outriders are good, I suppose, for tying up units, but I tried to run Outriders a few times, Mark, and I never got a sense from the Outriders that they were strong, right? And maybe it's just the fact that they just have chainswords and I was running them into the wrong targets. But yeah, I don't know. I own 6 Outriders and I don't field any of them ever. And I absolutely didn't include them in my top 10 unit for Blood Angels. So if this is your first ever list and you've not played Matt, I mean, this is pretty decent. So I think we can probably score your list, but I think the things that I would point out are, like, change some of these HQ options around a bit. It's really great if you can make this Primaris Chaplain on the bike, the Wise Orator. It's really great if the Librarian can have another psychic power if you're going to run Unleash Rage, and I get the strength of Unleash Rage. And I like Iron Resolve on him a lot. It helps him against mortal wounds. The Captain in the Terminator armor I think is fine, but I would totally give him the Gift of Foresight, because I think you'll get more value off of it because you'll get to reroll your invulnerable save, whereas Gift of Foresight on the Librarian Dreadnought, if he ever gets hit with anything that's like more than minus... If he gets hit with even -3, you're only saving on 6s, so you get no... Gift of Foresight is not really valuable on rerolling a save if you need a 6, whereas with your Captain on the Terminator armor, you're always going to get pushed on just 4+ invulnerable save, right? So Gift of Foresight is going to be valuable because you're re-rolling at a 50-50 chance. Just found out you yesterday. Your videos helped me so much with figuring out what I should be adding to Inherited Blood Angels Army from 1992. Welcome to the channel, Saul. You're very welcome. That's kind of the point of all the videos, I suppose. The Death Company are fine, but they could be better with another hammer. They could also be better as Sanguinary Guard. It's nice to put an Infernal Pistol on your Vanguard Veteran Sergeant. It's also nice to put an Infernal Pistol sometimes into Death Company or Sanguinary Guard as well. And Razorbacks and Ball Predators, they're in a weird spot right now. They're just not very competitive. The Whirlwind is better than the Ball Predator. Sorry, the Whirlwind is better than the Razorback. A Redemptor is definitely better than the Ball Predator. And Outriders for me are just a question. You know, like, if I had 150 points to spend, I would definitely spend it on different things. Yeah, that's a good point. The Ball Predator is the exact same cost as a 3-man attack bike squadron. And if you've watched any of my battle reports, Matt, you'll see every week those attack bikes with the multi-meltas do serious work. The speed of them, the fact that they can be giving Chapter Master rerolls because they're core units. Yeah, so I think there's a few things to talk about there that's that could make this list better. So I just noticed we got 8 viewers on Twitch, which is like the most we've ever had over there. So thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate it. It's going to help me out a lot to have a few more viewers on Twitch. And if people are watching, I guess, the live game tomorrow night and they want to help out and just open up Twitch in a new tab and mute it, that would work. That'd be appreciated as well. Cool. Okay, so how do we score this then? So we have 3 troop choices. 2 are Phobos units for guerrilla tactics, and we also have Visage of Death on our Primaris Chaplain. So I mean, the OBSEC is pretty good in this list. I'd say like it's usually we do like 8-5 for 3 Phobos units, but it's 2 Phobos units, another unit, and then Visage of Death. I think it's like an 8-5. It could even be pushing borderline 9. You make a really good job, mate. Keep up the good work. Thank you, Lunart Marshall. I appreciate that. I was hoping to avoid spending £75 on Melta bikes. Yeah, I mean, wherever you go though, Matt, you're probably going to have to spend 75, right? Because if you want to make this competitive, if you need Eradicators and a Redemptor, that's going to be like 60. If you want to go like 2 Redemptors, that's going to be like 80. If you want to go in Inceptors, you're going to need to buy 2 boxes of them. That's going to be like 60. So I guess wherever you go with it to make it more competitive, and it's not bad right now, and you'll probably be able to win games with this. But if you want to take it up a level and like dominate games, then you're going to have to spend like 60 to 100. And that's just the reality of it. I'm actually thanks for following Fapspat. I'm actually going to buy a 3rd Redemptor this month, and it's because I bought one of the easy to build ones, and I just want another one that has the Onslaught Cannon and the rocket pods and the macro, because I just think the Onslaught is actually a lot better now with the Heavy 8. Like, I like it a lot more than it was before. And sometimes it's weird, right? It's like only 2 more shots, but I'm like, it generally feels like a lot better. I mean, I guess it's just the course of a battle. It actually equates to 10 more shots with the Onslaught Cannon. And, you know, it's a strength 5 -1 weapon, so 10 more shots at 24 inches. It just means another reason that the enemy have to deal with my Redemptors. And, like, I don't even think the Redemptors are that much of an MVP in my list, but what they do is they're friggin' bullet magnets, right? Like, they soak up so much firepower from the enemy with the Duty Eternal, and if people are trying to drop my Redemptors, then all my other units are free to get round the board and do work. And sometimes that's the way. Word to the wise, muting a Twitch tab stops it from being counted for viewing numbers. Okay, I did not know that. So I guess that strategy didn't help me at all. Thanks, Dex. I appreciate you pointing that out. Okay. Right on. So yeah, let's continue scoring. Anti-infantry / horde. So it probably does pretty good against those, right? We've got the Death Company chainswords, we've got the Lightning Claws, we've got one twin assault cannon, a couple of heavy flamers, and we've got some bolter fire, but in terms of clearing screens, it's not really got a lot, and I guess that's why we were advising you change most of this. So I guess like it's probably like a 7 for clearing screens. We probably clear horde armies okay with the amount of melee we have, but like units could be screened pretty effectively against this list due to a bit of lack of firepower, if you ask me. High damage output. Well, if we talk about my thing that we were talking about before about 3 damage weapons or above, we've got 2 las cannons. I'm not going to count the Hunter Killer Missile because it's a single shot. We've got 5 Thunderhammers here, so that's 7. We've got another Thunderhammer here, that's 8. If we do make this the Wise Orator, then potentially that's 9 because he gets potentially +1 strength from Mantra, or +1 damage and +1 strength from Mantra of Strength. So that would be 9. The Librarian Dreadnought obviously brings 10, and then the Captain with a Thunderhammer brings 11. So it's actually a very good number of 3 damage weapons. So we go up against like monsters and tough targets. If we can make the charges, then we can actually kill them pretty effectively. There might be some question marks about if we can make the charges, if they can be screened. Yeah, I think like an 8-5. For mobility, I guess like overall it's very mobile. The Terminators aren't mobile, I guess, once they've deep striked in, and I think I would lose the teleport homer. I think in practice it doesn't help much. The assault intercessors, we know that they're going to be running, and then the 2 support units that aren't super mobile, I mean, they still got 10-inch move, so I think mobility is generally very good. And specialization, I guess, is pretty good as well. You know, in terms of having a lot of different damage weapons, we've got that sorted, but there is some question marks over the firepower that this list is bringing, and personally I don't think any of these 3 choices are competitive. It's fine as a casual list, but if you want to, like I said, if you want to step it up to be more effective, then you need to change something there. So I think it's like a 6-5 on specialization maybe. But I mean, you're not far away, Matt, and I know you said you didn't want to spend $75 on the Meltabikes, and maybe some people don't like the look of the Meltabikes, which is fine, but I think in here, which is what, 150 plus, so it was 315 points, and then the Whirlwind, I think these 315 points need to be spent better on Inceptors, Eradicators, Redemptors, is my thought. Because those are 3 of the top units that I've identified in 9th edition to do the most damage and like take, you know, basically be targets that the enemies need to deal with. Whereas like Outriders, a Ball Predator and a Razorback, enemies aren't going to have to deal with them. And I guess the difference with the Eradicators, the Inceptors and the Redemptor is all of these things are core. So they can benefit from any sort of rerolls, or, you know, a neat little trick here we could do is we could have a Redemptor Dreadnought next to a squad of Eradicators. The Redemptor Dreadnought can pay 1 CP to do Wisdom of the Ancients, so everybody within 6 inches can reroll their 1s. Then he can shoot like his high power plasma cannon with very little risk to himself, I guess. And the Eradicators could obviously maybe move and then still be able to shoot and reasonably, because normally Eradicators hit on 3s. If you need to move them, they'd hit on 4s. Actually, I think Eradicators are assault weapons. So I guess... let me check that. Eradicators, it's only the heavy melters that are -1, isn't it? Regular Eradicators are assault. Yeah, so melter rifles are assault. Yeah, so your Eradicators can actually move, and then, you could assault and hit at -1. And if you're still within 6 inches of the Dreadnought, you can get the plus. You can re-roll the 1s from the Wisdom of the Ancients. So there's some good synergy going on around that. So there's a lot to take in, Matt. And I guess if you've not played, usually I advise people to play a game. So play your current list and think about what I said. And then if your friends are cool with it, which I hope your friends would be because you're a new player, what you should do to them is say, I really want to proxy a unit as a Redemptor Dreadnought. I want to proxy these 3 guys as Eradicators. And before you buy, before you go ahead and spend £100 and decide that you don't like Inceptors, because I have 6 Inceptors and I don't use them because I don't like them. Whereas, I'm now running, I'm buying a 3rd Redemptor Dreadnought. So basically, I've wasted money. But try and find some friends that are cool with you proxying. And when I've been proxying stuff on the stream, because I haven't proxied too many things on the stream, what I did was I just went to Games Workshop's website and printed out a picture of the model and stuck it to the top of the model. So when you're playing, your opponent will be very clear on knowing what you proxied, right? Hey, this is a model that's proxied as this because it's stuck to the top of it. And then from the proxy, maybe that helps you know, hey, okay, I don't like Redemptor Dreadnoughts, or hey, I don't like Eradicators, and that maybe helps you. And yeah, I get some people that don't like the attack bikes, but honestly, I don't care what the attack bikes look like. They do so much damage every game. I love the attack bikes. And somebody said in the stream last week that Kev was really, really salty in the stream, and I was like, I don't think Kev was really salty. I think he was just really upset that you can still resurrect attack bikes. I think he thought that with the Invader ETV nerf, you couldn't res attack bikes anymore. And yeah, you can still resurrect attack bikes, and it's generally super strong resurrecting the attack bikes. I like it a lot. So okay, cool. Let's do this giveaway then. Let me double check if anyone else has entered. No, okay. So we are doing a giveaway for channel members this week, and we do giveaways from time to time. We typically do them every time we get a new 1,000 subscribers on YouTube is how we've been doing it. We did pass 5,000 subscribers maybe a few weeks ago now. So this week we're giving away attack bikes to members, but we're going to give away some to non-members next week, so keep an eye on the channel and we'll give away some. Well, it'll probably be via Discord. We'll give them away next week. So keep an eye on Discord. What we'll do is we'll ask people to write a certain message into a Discord room. Hey, Emperor's Son coming in with a super chat. Wouldn't be able to get through a shift without some Blood Angels commander to listen to. Also durability or damage output with characters like chaplains and captains. Thank you so much for the super chat, brother. You are always hitting me with super chats. It's much appreciated. You want to see durability and damage output with... Well, if you tell... we have done videos on captains and chaplains, and if there's specific ones you want us to look at, that would be absolutely fine. I think this week we were going to look at assassins, because a few people have asked for a few weeks about some assassins, so I was thinking we'd do a video on assassins this week, but I don't typically run assassins myself that often. I do have 2 of them, but I guess there's 2 that I don't have, so I need to investigate some assassins, but also... Yeah, which is more important? Which is more important for me anyway is about making sure your characters are alive at the end of the game, right? And this is why I run my chapter master this is why I put so much emphasis on I run my Librarian and Terminator armor, and no other competitive players are running their Librarian and Terminator armor, right? And I also I run my chapter master with toughness 6 and like a 2+4+5 triple plus. So it's hard to put an absolute weighting on damage versus survivability, but some people joke in the chat sometimes. It's like, what is it? You can't do any damage when you're dead, or you don't. Attacks don't matter when you're dead, and I think that's something to really latch on to, right? And I think this is why I don't run Dante, because I want a chapter master that can pretty much be shot point blank range with multiple melta-guns and just laugh it off and keep fighting. And sometimes it's very difficult to know where to draw the line, right? And I think you're absolutely right, Emperor's Son, in that I put Adamantium Mantle on a character that already has toughness 6, 2+ save, 4+ invulnerable save, and 7 wounds, but is that gone one step too far? I could take Mastercrafted Weapon and make his Thunderhammer do 4 damage, but the way I see it is it's great as Thunderhammer does 4 damage, but what happens when he doesn't survive? Then he doesn't do any damage. So my chapter master, in I think the last 6 or 7 games, he survived the whole game, right? I think in one game he got killed by a termite drill on the final turn because, oh my god, do termite drills do a crazy amount of damage in close combat. But yeah, I mean, there's something to be said about if you haven't run the chapter master that I'm giving away the bikes for right now, you kind of need to maybe, like I said earlier, you need to try and proxy him against your friends and just see how much of a beast he is, because I'm actually at a point where my friends actually they've stopped trying to kill my chapter master in games, because I think Andrew fired, it was Andrew had a squad of Eradicators and he total obliterated my chapter master. So 10 multi-melta shots, hitting on 3s, re-rolling 1s. He was Iron Hands and he had Lieutenant nearby, so wounding on 3s, re-rolling 1s, and my chapter master lost 2 wounds to that. So 10 multi-melta shots, hitting on 3s, re-rolling 1s, wounding on 3s, re-rolling 1s. They are -4, and we lost 2 wounds to it. So, and then other times it's been the same sort of thing where so I guess with every character there's something to be said about if they're dead they don't do anything, but knowing the balance between the two is generally pretty hard. And I guess that's going to be situational on almost every game. Where can I find the bike models you're giving away? I mean, these bikes are just on the Games Workshop website, right? They are just Space Marine bikes. What are they called? Somewhere it'll say their name. No? This camera's too close. I'm really surprised it doesn't say their name on... Oh, well, it does here at the bottom. Space Marine Bike Squad. And from this, so I've built a captain on a bike who's the crazy tanky chapter master. I also built a Death Company captain on a bike, and again, the Death Company captain on a bike is pretty great. I have been using him on my list now for 9 games in a row or something. Tomorrow, hopefully, he'll murder down a bunch of Necron warriors tomorrow night. So hopefully, we can see that. And yeah, let me catch up on a few other questions that we had here. Where do we put our name for the giveaway? So you'll need to join the Discord for next week's giveaway if you want a chance to win one of these bikes, and we're doing that for non-members next week. Well, they're just called they're just called Space Marine Bike Squads. Let me show you a couple of pictures of the ones that I made, because I took a few photos, and I mean, I'm not the greatest painter, so let me just throw that out here. where did I put the pictures of the bikes? Oh, come on, John. Think. Yeah, so like this is one of the ones that I created. So this was just a Space Marine bike, and then so from the waist up, basically, like I used a Sangre Guard body. I think I used a Sangre Guard arm with a different hand, so you could hold on to the bar and put an Infernal Pistol in him. I guess it's like a Death Company Thunderhammer in the other arm. This is actually a Reaver head. And I think this is a Death Company backpack. So this was the Chapter Master on the bike that I built. I think I have an older photo when they... Oh yeah, and then I've got this photo as well. So you can kind of see them side by side. And this was the Chapter Master, and this was the Death Company one, and that is a Crimson Paladin shield on. So you can do some pretty cool conversions. And yeah, I think the bikes have been sold out. I think maybe a lot of people are running the bike captains, and I magnetized these guys as well. So yeah, all right. So let's do this members giveaway real quick, and then let's get into the next list. And the interesting thing, I suppose, with Blood Angels right now is we quite often run Sangre Priests, and the amount of times that we can heal characters with Sangre Priests. So if you can make your characters really survivable, which we can do, you know, by putting them on the bike, they're toughness 5. The Chapter Master can be toughness 6. If we can then heal them 3 damage per turn with a Sangre Priest, it's very difficult for the opponents to shift them off the table. And sometimes, like at the end of the game, recent games, I've won a few games where like all my characters are still alive and they're all in full health, and you know the opponent's been near enough tabled. So yeah, alright, so there's 28 people on this list. These are all channel members, so much appreciated. The channel members really help the channel grow, and you know, all the new equipment and stuff we have on the live stream is bought and paid for essentially by the channel members, so much appreciated on that. So we've got this website here called random.org, and I guess like it will just generate a random number between 1 and 28, so we'll just fill in 28 here, and if we get the same number twice, we'll re-roll it, because I don't want to send somebody 2 bikes. Like it'd be a bit unfair if somebody won both of them. So yeah, let's go for it, and good luck. And if you're in the chat, definitely good luck here, because last time we actually had a few people that were hanging out in the live stream win the bikes, so that would be nice if it happens again. So fingers crossed. So the first winner is going to be 15, Mikey Creed. Alright, I don't know if Mikey's in here today, but Mikey is often in the chat, so that is cool. So Mikey's going to win a bike, and what I'll do is I'll contact you after the stream and we'll get that sent out to you. It doesn't matter where you live in the world, wherever you are, I will get it sent out to you. So if it's 15 again, we'll re-roll it, and good luck to everybody else on this other one. 20, Panzer Tanker. Cool. Alright, I'm not sure actually who Panzer Tanker's Discord, that's his Discord name, so it might be somebody that's got a slightly different name in YouTube, but cool. Alright, so you guys have won bikes, and yeah, unfortunately it shouldn't be a Primaris biker, because the Primaris biker have bigger bases than the vanilla bikes. The other option might be to like get an Outrider and just stick it on an older size base, but I mean it's a bit strange. Obviously the Games Workshop Space Marine bikes, I actually picked up some on eBay. Bike Squad, this is what you're looking for. Now I guess they're sold out, but like previously the Scout bikes could potentially be converted as well. Space Marine biker, or just bikes. Maybe just try Space Marine biker. Yeah, like here's one for $5 in the UK. That's pretty much what the sprue looks like. So I mean, you can find these pretty cheaply. you will need a bit of another box to finish the conversion, right? Like you will need a Death Company box or something to finish a conversion. But yeah, in the UK you can definitely occasionally find bikes. I found one that was like buy it now for like $9 a few weeks ago. But yeah, so I mean there's one there bidding in the UK for like a $5. So they do come up, so you can search and then hear somewhere from. So I guess if you're in France, you can get them for like €30. And I mean, I guess the other option is if someone finds some, maybe in Discord or something, a few people could chat. Carrie just ordered one, and it looks like they're available. Nice. So sorry you didn't win, Carrie. Maybe next time. We'll, as I say, we'll continue to do giveaways from time to time. Okay. So cool. So congrats. I'll hit you guys up. I'll get your addresses and I'll get those things sent out to you. I have no idea where either of them live, but we'll figure it out. Alright, so let's move on to our next list for today, and that's by Ryan. Here we go. Alright. I have 10 bikes and 2 attack bikes, and I bought the Raven Guard bike squad for the cool wing shields at the front of them. Some I had to eBay. Yeah, I mean, eBay is sometimes fine, right? Like, I often buy like the odd arms or the odd storm shields or the odd thunderhammer from eBay. Right, so here's a tournament list from Ryan, and this is for Saturday. So maybe that was actually yesterday. Okay, I want to preface that I'm running a heavy terrain meta. A couple of guys are running a similar LVL Nopin Custodes list. I'm running a jump pack captain based upon your smash captain, with him on the heavy durability side. He will be coming in on turn 2 and with Inceptors so he can reroll 1s. First turn will consist of Infiltrators, 5-man screening home objective. Second 5-man Infiltrators screening an objective on flank. 5-man Incursors taking a main objective to spearhead the assault, with the 5-man Assault Intercessors coming from behind to back them up. With the Utility Librarian with Null Zone to knock enemy invulnerables saves for turn 2 or 3. The Sanguinary Priest will tag along to put the Assault Intercessors into Assault Doctrine. Turn 3 is where the Sanguinary Guard come from Deep Strike to begin the main assault, with the Chapter Master Warlord. Also tactical warsuits will be in the flank to first turn assault to cause the necessary distraction for the Assault Intercessors to get in position for turn 2. You know what? I have never had that much success with tactical warsuits. Does anyone actually run tactical warsuits to great success? Because yeah, I haven't had success with them. I charged them a couple of times in the early game and never really felt like I got the damage that I needed to make them worth value. Alright, so it's a patrol detachment coming in at 1250 points. And we have 1 extra relic. We have the company champion who has the Blade of Triumph, so that is the 3 damage sword, so that's interesting. And then you've got 5 veterans, all with chain swords and storm shields. So a nice cheap veteran squad here with the storm shields to be a little bit more survival. Well, thanks for shouting that out, Tony. I appreciate that. Okay. Nice. So yeah, we are then moving on to the Chapter Master, who I think this is going to be a very similar Chapter Master to my one. The Angel's Artifice, giving him the +1 toughness, 2+ save. The Iron Resolve, a Storm Shield, the Imperium Sword, the Thunder Hammer, and he is the Warlord. It's not bad. I just wonder if... Is this better than the Gift of Foresight? I don't think it is. Like... Iron Resolve gives you +1 wound and a 6+ save. Imperium Sword gives you +1 attacks, +1 strength. So I guess your Thunderhammer is going to wound on 2s against most targets. But the Gift of Foresight gives you that reroll save. It gives you a reroll 1 hit, 1 wound. And then Adamantium Mantle gives you the 5+ feel no pain, so 1 less wound. It's an interesting choice. Slightly different to what I'm running, but again... Very survivable Chapter Master. I like this very survivable Chapter Master a lot. And I guess this comes back to Emperor's Son question about like how do you prioritize damage against survivability. Well, like you don't do any damage if your character's dead. You know, so and having this very survivable Chapter Master with a Thunderhammer dishing out damage for the entire game I think is well worth the points you spend on him. And even if you gave him like the Hammer of Baal or something, or the 4 damage Master Crafted Hammer, I still prefer the fact that like keep him alive and make him cause problems till the end of the game is better than maybe doing an extra 1 or 2 damage earlier in the game, I feel like. We then have the Sanguinary Priest, who has Heroic Bearing. Heroic Bearing is a Blood Angels pick, and I forget what it is. I thought it's... I think I got confused. I thought it was going to be the... It's not one that I typically pick. He gets to add 3 inches to the range of his Rites of Battle, Tactical Precision, Chapter Master, and Spiritual Leader. Well, he's none of those things. So, that's a strange pick. Heroic Bearing. I think he's thinking that it's adding 3 inches to the auras, but it's not adding 3 inches to the healing aura from the Sanguinary Priest, that's for sure. I mean, it's adding +1 leadership in a 9-inch bubble, but I mean, like, that seems like a low value pick. Like, I don't typically fail enough leadership tests to feel like I need to spend a hero of the chapter on the Sanguinary Priest, and I guess by doing that, he can't be the selfless healer, right? Yeah, this seems like the wrong pick. I think this should be the selfless healer for sure. I'm not sure where... Someone correct me if I'm wrong here, but Heroic Bearing has very little impact on this character. Spiritual Leaders is chaplain buffs, like litanies. It's not the heal that you would get from the Sanguinary Priest. I'm like 100% sure on that. Okay, then we move on to Troop Choice, which is in Cursors. We then have a Sanguinary Guard, and this Sanguinary Guard has a lot of extra differences on here. Infernal Fist, Power Fist, Infernal Pistol. So, I mean, it's fine. A couple of Power Fists, couple of Infernal Pistols. I kind of think the Power Fists are low value picks here. We've talked about it a lot, but I mean, they are fine. They're not... For me, I'd probably spend the 10 points extra somewhere else, but if you've already modeled Sanguinary Guard with Power Fists, which I have definitely done as well myself, sometimes I suppose it's fine to run a couple of Power Fists. We then have Inceptors, and these are 3 Assault Inceptors and 3 Plasma Inceptors. Or Assault? No, this must be 4 Assault Inceptors. Are Assault Inceptors that cheap? Really? I thought they got put up in points. I really thought Inceptors went up in points in the recent FAQ. Does the Games Workshop app update when the FAQs update? Does anyone know that? Inceptors. Hey Stephen, thank you so much for following. I'm just going to quickly check Inceptors, because I don't think regular Inceptors are only 40 points per model. We've been trying to build up followers on Twitch, so it's definitely much appreciated follows over there. Oh, you're right. No, that's right. They're 45 points a model. Apparently I can't do 45 times 4 in my head. That is 180. So yes. So it's 4 Bolter Inceptors, and it's 3 Plasma Inceptors to round out that detachment. So, just a minute ago or two we were talking about Inceptors, I guess, and yes, the answer is some players love Inceptors. I mean, like, Matt, you were asking you didn't want to spend the money on bikes. Well, this Ryan here has bought 3 boxes of Inceptors, which is pretty crazy. So, okay, so 7 Inceptors, 4 Bolters, 3 Plasmas. We then have a Chaplain who has the Mantra of Strength, Infernal Pistol, he's a jump pack, and he obviously has the Litany of Hate. We have a Primaris Librarian who is Veil of Time, Might of Heroes, Null Zone, Artificer Armour, and Chief Librarian. Okay, I think that there should be a CP spent here for this. He's not the Warlord. Who is the Warlord? The Chapter Master, yeah. So I think he hasn't spent the CP here by mistake. So this would be -1 CP to take an extra relic here. And regular chaplains get just a single relic. Sorry, they just know a single litany, don't they? If you took this list to a tournament, you would assume that the tournament organizer has checked it. Yeah, like a regular Primaris chaplain, this model knows one litany, so how has he got two? Oh, he is the Master of Sanctity, sorry. Okay, so yeah, Master of Sanctity to get the second litany. So I guess that's fine. We then have one Assault Intercessor squad. We have one 10-man Infiltrator squad. I guess that could be Combat squad. And then the Tactical Warsuit. Did anyone talk about it? I didn't see. Did anyone mention the Tactical Warsuit? No. So no one's running Tactical Warsuits. The app updates when GW bothers to update the app. Okay, nice. That's fair enough. And I guess you put your name for the next giveaway. You'll need to join over on the Discord and you'll find out about the next giveaway over that. Regular Inceptors are 45 points now per model. Yep, I thought so. The bolter ones are too similar to the plasma ones. I mean, the bolter ones being 10 points cheaper. The advantage of the bolter ones, though, I guess, is you get your maximum number of shots, right? Because the plasma ones are D3 shots, whereas the bolter ones are just assault 3. So each model does get 6 shots. They are strength 5. They are -1. So, I mean, it's kind of like heavy bolters of old. So, like, you know, 4 of them are bringing 24 rounds. If you pay the 1 CP to give them Descent of the Angels, you know, you've got 24 strength 5 bolters, essentially, hitting on 2s, you know, and you can get rerolls of 1s as well. And the other thing to say is, when we were talking earlier, Inceptors combo up really nicely with the Sanguinary Priest, right? Inceptors are a great model to bring back to life because they're so expensive. In some ways, they're kind of similar to what I'm running, you know, because I run Centurions, right? And Centurions are a great model to bring back to life because they're 55 points a model. So Inceptors are sort of the same place, right? 55 points a model. They're a great model to bring back to life. And sometimes the enemy needs to put a lot of firepower into them to get rid of them. So, hey Camille, how you doing? Good afternoon. I will send you my Tactical Warsuit list if you want. Yeah, absolutely. Or send in a Tactical Warsuit list. And yeah, Rezio, you're one of the players that actually really likes Bolter Inceptors. And how do you run your Bolter Inceptors then when you bring them in? But, I mean, I don't know if I would run a 10-man Infiltrator squad. I feel like Infiltrators, that's not their point. Infiltrators are just, their point is to screen enemies. And, like, Infiltrators don't typically do any damage. Like, I go through games where I don't even shoot with my Infiltrators. I don't even make charges. Like, they just sit and hold objectives and they deny deep strike. Sometimes they'll shoot, but it's usually pretty lackluster, right? Because their guns are all AP 0. So what exactly is this list then? It's a company champion with company veterans, a chapter master, a sanguinary priest, incursors, sanguinary guard, a lot of inceptors, the chaplain, the librarian, the assault intercessors, the infiltrators, and the tactical warsuit. Yeah, it's not something that I would typically run, and I guess the strategy is to get this tactical warsuit in early to make space for the assault intercessors to come in. You've got all those inceptors to drop down near your tanky chapter master. Hey Dracula, yeah, we're good today. Thank you for dropping in. And also we've got a lot of new followers over on Twitch today, so that's been pretty awesome. I was asking people if they could follow us on Twitch as well for the future. That would help. That would help out too. Cool. So OBSEC wise then, as it stands, I mean, like, one incursor, one assault intercessor, one 10-man infiltrator squad. I mean, this 10-man, you can hold 2 objectives with a 5-man infiltrator squad. So the 10-man one, I guess you can potentially hold 2, daisy chain them a little bit across 2 objectives. Shooting wise, we've got the 2 intercessor squads, which I guess will clean screens reasonably effectively. So yeah, let's start scoring and see what we come up with. So OBSEC, I guess we have to go like 9 right now. 10-man infiltrator squad that can be combat squadded, incursors, assault intercessor squads, a good amount of objective holding, and then yeah, against how are we going to clear out screens? We're going to clear out screens really effectively, I guess. Like, what did we say? 24 bolter shots, and then the plasma inceptors coming in as well. Like, I think the screen clear is like an 8.5 or a 9 here. I mean, I imagine that the tactical warsuit can do a little bit of clearing, but I actually forget all the guns that the tactical warsuit has. Let me just double check, because it can have flamers and stuff, but this one's got a twin iron hail cannon. So it's got a frag storm grenade launcher, a heavy bolter, the incendiary cannon, which I guess is, yeah, it's like a heavy flamer but with 2d6, 2 iron hail heavy stubbers, and the fist. But it can replace the incendiary cannon with a twin iron hail autocannon, so it has the autocannon. So it's kind of like, well, it's just a twin autocannon, is it? Strength 7 -1, 2 damage. So yeah, I think it can clear quite a lot of screening models pretty effectively, but I think when it comes up to the anti-armor here, like, he doesn't have that much. Like, you know, we talk about those 3 damage weapons. So we've got the 3 damage weapon on the warsuit, which I don't think will survive really beyond turn 1 if it's going to make a turn 1 charge, because the enemy will typically come deal with it. We've got 2 infernal pistols, and then the thunder hammer on the guy, the blade of triumph, and I think there was another infernal pistol. So we've got 7 3 damage or more weapons. So that's maybe a little low. And also, like, for what have we actually got for killing armor here, right? You've got the Sanguinary Guard with a couple of power fists. That's really it. I mean, sure, your characters can kill armor, but I mean, typically characters aren't as strong as the squads they support anymore, right? Like, you know, Smash characters were a lot weaker, so you need big squads of units, or at least decent sized squads, to deal damage to armor and stuff, and it just doesn't have that. So I think this is like a 7.5, maybe even arguably a little bit lower, because I do think it's a bunch of wasted points in infiltrators here as well. You know, 240 points in infiltrators. Maybe if you want to keep one squad of infiltrators, you could put them into this detachment and lose them cursors, and then spend this 240 points. I guess it'd be like 220 if you did that. You could spend that on like another 7-man Sanguinary Guard, or like 8 Vanguard veterans with lightning claws and shields. I think that would put you in a much stronger position. So I think, like, mobility wise here, I mean, mobility wise is fine enough. We've got the assault intercessors, the infiltrators, and then cursors that aren't mobile, but they don't really need to be. I think mobility is fine enough. But specialization, so we're lacking 3 damage weapons. We're also really lacking a lot of power against enemy armor, and yeah, I mean, Inceptors aren't my favourite model. You know that. You guys know that I don't run Inceptors, but I don't think they're bad models, and I think used right they can bring a lot of value. So I think like I'd say like a 6.5 on specialization. Like, it feels to me like maybe even 6, because that's, yeah, maybe even 6. It feels to me like you don't make a Blood Angels list with just one close combat jump unit, right? Like, the minimum you have is 2. I think most people run 3 or more, but like I think the minimum you can do here is 2. I am taking 2 in my current list, and I'm like hovering on, like, I obviously have Centurions in my current list, but like I'm hovering on dropping the Centurions and taking that 3rd jump pack unit, because I think that the jump pack units are really important for Blood Angels. I mean, they're arguably our strongest units. The Sanguinary Guard and the Vanguard veterans right now are, and this is why I prefer Vanguard veterans to Death Company, and it's just the survivability. Like, Vanguard veterans survivability against Death Company right now is quite a lot more. Like, when we mathed it out, it was like 70% more survivable. So if we talk about 9th edition being an edition where you need to hold objectives, you need to score primaries, you need units to be alive at the end of the game to do this. Even more so if you go in turn, if you're second now, because on turn 5 you score your points at the end of the turn rather than the beginning of the turn. So this is why I rate Vanguard Veterans higher than Death Company at the moment, and well, I mean, kind of exclusively with Lightning Claws. Lightning Claws make them better. They obviously they reroll their wounds and they get +1 AP over the chainswords that Death Company got, and the Storm Shields are amazing. This list just feels to me like something has to give. Too many troops, and yeah, I mean, I'd love to see your list with the Warsuit, but I am feeling like I get a lot of value out of the Warsuit. I've used it once, and yeah, when I used it, I really didn't feel like there was a whole heap of value to be had in the Warsuit. So, yeah, I mean, I guess 40 seems maybe like a little bit I was going to say jealous, generous. But, I mean, Tony's rated at 40 in the chat as well, so yeah, I mean, I think if Warsuits were super competitive, then we would see them in a lot of lists, but we just don't see them, right? And what are they like? They're toughness 13, toughness 13, that would be good. Toughness 6, 13 wounds, and just a 3+ save. So, when I used Warsuits, you obviously use the concealed position to get them forward, and it is true that you can make that early turn 1 charge, and it is true that it can cause the opponent to react to it, but quite often their opponent can react to it, and because it's turn 1, you're only hitting on 5 attacks, you're only hitting on 3s. An average roll there means that you're only going to get like 2 or 3 hits. So if you end up charging, I don't know, some infantry or something, you kill 2 of them, they fall back, and then they shoot you off the table, or they charge you off the table, either or. I don't see a whole lot of value in that for 160 points, when like 20 points more you get a Redemptor who has that +1 toughness, who has that Duty Eternal, and he has much longer range, and he just dishes out much more damage. I like how the tactical Warsuits look. I kind of want to buy one, but it's not for me in terms of competitive play right now. In the guard squad, I just put Infernal Pistols on the Power Fist models and have those the last you removed due to the points you've spent. That's what I do. Yeah, that's very true. If you have the models that aren't, if you have more Infernal Pistols, then, and if you have more Sanguinary Guard swords or Incarmite swords, I'd pull the Power Fist. I actually pulled a Power Fist off of one of my Sanguinary Guard this week, but I don't have any more Incarmite swords or axes. Unless someone in the chat wants to donate to me a bunch of Incarmite swords with axes, I'm stuck with a bunch with Power Fists for the moment. I'll probably search eBay in the future, and do you know what? I actually kind of said to myself, I just need to buy another box of Sanguinary Guard, and we'll just go like 3, whatever many axes and swords we get out of the other box. Who knows? Maybe in the future the Power Fist Sanguinary Guard will return as a good option. So it would suck if I had none of them when they return. But for now, I think I have 5 with Power Fists, and like I just don't rate them at all. Okay, so Ryan scores a nice 40 out of 50. So not a bad list, but I feel like definitely needs some improvements. Okay, moving on to list number 4 for today, and I guess today's stream is going to run a little bit over the giveaway and stuff. Maybe I've been blabbering a bit too much today. Alright, so we're looking at Simon Canelon's list next. I have an upcoming match against new Dark Angels, and I wanted to build a list that would be able to deal with their incredible survivability. The goal is to have multiple units that can dish out a large volume of shots and attacks to penetrate through their inner circle and their 4+ in Vuns. I built the HQs with buffing in mind, as opposed to them just being beat sticks, hence things like Heroic Bearing on the bike, Chapter Master. All of our Blood Angels units can deal considerable amount of damage. I just need HQs to protect them and maintain their efficiency and not get stuck in combat. Chapter Master on the bike. He will usually stick with Vanguard Vets to drop off Chapter Master rerolls in the command phase and then move to provide rerolls of ones elsewhere. Heroic Bearing will make sure this happens, since I don't always want to advance because I might need to move him and shoot a Quake Bolt. Okay. Librarian Warlord, standard utility librarian with Unleash Rage for added attacks when Needed to punch through inner circle, Librarian will mainly stick with Sanguinary Guard and Redemptor Dreadnought to provide him funds with Psychic Fortress, or Null Zone a unit of Terminators for Sanguinary Guard to slash through and only move from that blob if needed elsewhere. Sanguinary Priest will be sticking with the Blade Guard Vets for a tough to shift mid-board presence. Yeah, that's the way to run Blade Guard Veterans for sure. 6+ Feel No Pain, Res, Transhuman, Storm Shields, and Blood Chalice if needed. Death Company with Thunder Hammers. Obviously, for a Forlorn Fury move if possible. They're there to sacrifice themselves in either turn 1 and turn 2, and I hate this mentality. I hate sacrificing units on the table, so I think this is why I don't run Death Company like this. The goal is to take out key HQ in the backfield zone, Talonmaster, Librarians, Apothecaries. If they successfully kill that model, try to pile and consolidate into slow moving Terminators to tie them up, while the rest of our army establishes a board presence while they play catch up. Devastators with Grav Guns seem like a weird choice, but the goal is volume of shots, good range and good AP, which Gravs have. Squad of 5 will on either side of the board to threaten shooting lanes and often soften up Deathwing units before Belly comes in for the finish. A 5-man will dish out a total of 20 shots at strength 5, AP minus 3 or 4, damage 2, everything in Dark Angels is a 3+ or better save. If this kills only 1 or 2 models in the shooting phase, great. Redemptor is doing the exact same thing, except sticking closer to the midboard and shift and use Wisdom of the Ancients, if possible. Infiltrators for deep strike denial and Assault Intercessors mainly for screening, trying to tie up Deathwing Knights in combat and move blocking. I would love to see what you think about this list. Sorry this was such a long write-up. Okay. What do you put on a Redemptor? You put all the macro plasma cannon and the onslaught cannon, and you magnetize the rocket pods, is my opinion. That's what I'm doing with my next one, Camille. Sorry I had to drop out for a bit. No problem, Gitley. I hope you're... I love a good Sunday roast, so you're excused. You're allowed to make a Sunday roast while I'm streaming. This one time, Gitley. Next time, not so. Will not be so nice. Alright, Captain on a Bike. He has heroic bearing, so his aura is now 9 inches, and this makes sense unlike the last list. He has Quake Bolts as well. He has Rites of War granting some obsec, and he has a Storm Shield and Angel's Exemplar. And there is a big question mark around Rites of War, and we're going to find out that question mark tomorrow when I come up against 80 Necron Warriors on stream. If you don't know, we're playing Necrons tomorrow at 7 o'clock. He's bringing 80 Necron Warriors. So they're all obsec. They all count as double obsec in that, like, if they're on an objective, every one model on the objective counts for 2. And I'm running my army that has one single obsec model, which is my infiltrators. So I guess we're going to see how we do tomorrow. And maybe for once we'll finally decide if Rites of War would have been a valuable pick. Because in the games I've been winning so far, I felt like I haven't needed it. But we haven't felt so... We haven't fielded such a horrible list yet. Alright, Librarian has Veil of Time, Unleash Rage, Null Zone and Psychic Fortress, and these are all core picks, and he is the Chief Librarian, and I do like the Psychic Mastery pickup here for the additional +1 on the Psychic test, so that makes a lot of sense. We also have a Sanguinary Priest who has the Selfless Healer, very standard jump pack, etc. Troop-wise, 2 Assault Intercessor squads, and then 1 Infiltrator squad. So we've got the Infiltrator for the screening. 500th armor DC is a big shout. We then have 5 Blade Guard veterans, just as you are, Heavy Bolt Pistol, Storm Shield and Mastercrafted Power Sword. We have 5 Death Company, all with Thunder Hammers, and this is... yeah, I mean, alright, so this is a Suicide Squad, I guess. Kind of interesting that is 5 Thunder Hammers, and Thunder Hammers are 15 points per model on these guys. So like if we drop 2 or 3 Thunder Hammers, we could add... I think if we dropped 3 Thunder Hammers, we could almost add 2 more models. And that's interesting to me because one of the things you can do effectively with Forlorn Fury is if you deploy your Chapter Master on the very front line of your... Oh, is it a Chapter? Yeah, it is a Chapter Master. So if you deploy your Chapter Master and your Priest in the very front of your deployment zone, hopefully maybe obscured, if you daisy chain enough Death Company back to them to be within 6, at the start of the game, you can put them into Assault Doctrine, and you can also give them Chapter Master rerolls. So for me, I'd probably try and lose 3 of the Thunder Hammers. You need to find some more points elsewhere, but not many, just like 5 more points. And if we could find a few more points, we could get enough to daisy chain that squad back and then give them Chapter Master rerolls, give them Assault Doctrine, and I mean, I guess if you think about this, right, 5 Thunderhammers in turn 1 are going to be what, like Death Company, Firstborn Death Company get 2 attacks, right? Like let me just do some super quick math here. This is bad because I've pretty much stopped running Firstborn Death Company. Yeah, Firstborn Death Company get 2 attacks. So on the charge they would get 3, and from the Black Rage they would have 4. So your 5 guys is going to get 20 attacks, but we're only going to be hitting on 5s, right? Sorry, we're only going to be hitting on 4s because the -1 to hit. So we're going to make 10 Thunderhammer hits. Now, let me think. They get yeah, that's right. So they get their 10 Thunderhammer hits. Now, if we drop 3 of the Thunderhammers, so we just have 2 Thunderhammers now, right? But we put them in the Assault Doctrine, so we get +1 attacks. So we actually get 5 attacks per model as opposed to 4. So we just have 10 Thunderhammer hits now. But if they have Chapter Master rerolls, we would hit on 4s, but we'd reroll everything. That gives us a 75% chance to hit. So out of our 10 hits, we'd now only get 0.75. So we'd lose 2.5 Thunderhammer hits. Or, we would hit with the Thunderhammers 2.5 times. So your 5 guys would do 10 hits. Your 2 guys would do 7.5 hits. Now, because we only have 2 guys, if we have, let's say, we'd be adding, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 guys with chainswords, and they'd be an Assault Doctrine. So the 5 guys with chainswords are actually going to get 6 attacks each. So you're going to get 30 chainsword hits, and we're going to hit with those chainswords on 3s, and we're going to get reroll everything from the Chapter Master rerolls. So your 30 chainswords are going to get Any Dice will tell me. I don't know if you know this website, guys, but Any Dice is a great resource for if you're trying to work stuff out. So if we put this into Any Dice, and if you want this formula, I can give you the formula. I just keep it there so I don't lose it. So we're gonna roll d6, and we're gonna reroll 1s and 2s, and we're gonna reroll them on a d6, and we'll hit calculate, and we'll hit at least. So hitting on 3s with full Chapter Master rerolls actually hits 88.89% of the time. So out of these 30 chainsword hits, we're going to hit basically 89% of the time. So we're going to get 2.5 less Thunderhammer hits, but we're going to get 26 chainsword hits. And remember that we're an Assault Doctrine as well because we daisy chained them back. So we're all those chainswords are actually going to hit at -2. And again, I guess all your Thunderhammers, your 7.5 Thunderhammers, they're going to hit on -3 as opposed to -2 as well because we're in Assault Doctrine. So I would change the squad. You'd only need to find 5 points elsewhere in the list to change this into basically a 7-man squad, 5 with chainswords and 2 with Thunderhammers. And I guess this is why people talk a lot. It takes 5 Death Companies nearly useless, not enough bodies, 10 or nothing on my list. Yeah, I mean, I guess your with only -2, your Deathwing Terminators are going to save against those. So in the first situation where you had the 10 Thunderhammer hits, your Deathwing Knights are still going to save on 3s because they're only -2 and they normally have a 1-up save. So pushing them onto the -4 is actually going to be a big deal. So I think this Death Company is going to 100% be better with 2 and 5. Maybe even another model as well. 8 might be right, but let's continue on. Hopefully we're making some sense here. We then have a Redemptor Dreadnought, which is Rocket Pod, Macroplasma, and Onslaught Ganon, and this is the best option. Sometimes you need to save 5 points. You can drop the Rocket Pod. So in this case, I'd probably drop the Rocket Pod to save those 5 points to make this into a 7-man Death Company. And I think that's going to do a lot more damage if you deploy correctly and use the Forlorn Fury and you daisy chain correctly, and one model is still within 6 inches of your Chapter Master and your Library, your Blood Chalice Priest, your Blood Chalice. Then we have 7 Sanguinary Guard with swords, and this is absolutely fine. We have 2, 4, 6, 8 Vanguard veterans with storm shields and lightning claws, and if you do just make one change with this list, I noticed you had 1 point free. For the 1 point extra, you can remove this storm shield. Remember, you won't ever need to take a save on this guy, I guess, unless the whole rest of the squad is dead, right? And you can put an Infernal Pistol in there, because it costs 1 more point. So it's basically, it's going to cost you 1 point to swap out one of those storm shields, which cost 4 points, with an Infernal Pistol. So I think that's a much better option here. And then, yeah, so you've got your 2 Grav Devastator squads with bolt gun, with the Sergeant with the bolt gun and the Cherubs to give you an extra shot or 2. No drop pods or anything to get these into position, so these guys will just have to be quite static, because if they do move, it'll be -1 to hit, I guess. Alright, so interesting list. Captain on a Bike, Librarian, Sanguinary Priest, Assault Intercessors, Infiltrators, Blade Guard, Death Company, Redemptor, Vanguard Veterans, Sanguinary Guard, and then the Devastators. And Grav Devastators, let me just quickly look up the Grav Devastator profile, because I don't run Devastators myself. I feel like Grav Devastators are flat 2 damage now. What is it? Heavy Grav Cannon. Yeah, so it's, if the save is 3+ or better, it's 2 damage. Okay, so damage 3 weapons in this list, and I guess if we hadn't changed the Storm Shield out, damage 3 weapons are the Macroplasma Incinerator, the 5 Thunderhammers, and that's it. I think, yeah. I mean, I guess the 4 sword. Okay, so 6 3 damage weapons potentially. Rizio saying he thinks this list will bounce off Death Guard. Sorry, not Death Guard. I've got Death Guard on the brain. Dark Angel's Deathwing. Thinks it'll bounce off them. Yeah, I mean, what's the AP on the Grav Guns again? -3. Alright, so the Grav Guns will at least force them onto their 4+ invulnerable save. So these 2 squads are actually decent. You're just going to struggle with the fact that they aren't going to be mobile. I mean, the strongest way to use these guys is in drop pods. So not using them in drop pods, you'll have to be very smart where you're deploying them. I mean, the Vanguard Veterans and the Sanguinary Guard, it's hard to argue with these guys, especially if you can Null Zone. Null Zone isn't going to really give you any value for the -3 from the Lightning Claws. Very little value, I guess. Null Zone on the swords, -4, will be some value, but I guess it'll be a question mark on how you get in. Do I want to become famous and buy more followers? No. Thank you for coming into the channel, but kindly fuck off. Assault Intercessors, again, just chain swords, Infiltrator squad, and the Captain on the Bike is giving Quake bolts, but he doesn't. Yeah, do you know what? I kind of agree. If you're gonna bring up against Dark Angels, then I don't think this is the strongest list. And also, just 6 damage, 3 weapons, and I've just recommended that you drop a bunch of them, right? Because this Death Company to me doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And I generally hate throwing models into die, right? Like, if you throw in 5 Death Company, they will be 100% be dead. I mean, in the chat, people are saying throw in a 10-man squad. The difference with the 10-man squad is a few of them could live. Then you could jump them away. You could then get some of them. I actually don't know how to do that, Doug. So maybe we need to set up some Twitch mods. So if people want to become Twitch mods, we could. I've never had Twitch mods, so I guess we need to get a couple. Yeah. So yeah, throwing in 5-man Death Company to die, in my opinion, is not a good choice. Like, if you're throwing them in to do damage, great, but you need some to live, because you can then pull them out of combat, get some of them rezzed with the Sanguinary Priest, get them into a board quadrant for engage on all fronts, have them hold an objective. You know, like, sometimes that's the great thing with the Vanguard Veterans that I ran, right? Like, sometimes I have a single Vanguard Veteran left with this Infernal Pistol. We're just jumping around the battle, taking pop shots with an Infernal Pistol, or sometimes we're just hiding on an objective or hiding in a board quadrant, right? I also don't. I kind of agree with what Highland's saying, is I don't see what value you're getting from the Quake Bolts here, right? Because you've already said you're going to throw the Death Company in to die, so Quake Bolts for me isn't a good pick here. I would honestly probably try and make my captain do some damage as well. You know, like, it's fine to. It's fine to. What am I trying to say? It's fine to have a captain that buffs people, but, like, I obviously run this captain, and I run him in such a way that he's an absolute beast. You know, like, I think my captain is 15 more points. We have a Thunderhammer, we have an Infernal Pistol, we have a better save. Sure, my aura isn't 9 inches, but, like, I think with smart positioning, you don't necessarily need that 9-inch aura, right? 6 inches is a pretty decent size, and I want to say out of the last 10 games, there's only been like 1 or 2 times that I've potentially not ended up with like a good positioning on my aura. And I guess, yeah, I mean, you're trying to use the Quake Bolts for the Death Company, but again, I mean, if you want to keep the Quake Bolts, at least if you change the Death Company up to my suggestion and give them all those rerolls and you give them the Quake Bolts, then you potentially start making them feel pretty scary. But I think I kind of agree. Like, I think I would. I'd probably, like, if you want to do the Death Company tactic here against Dark Angels, like, get rid of 2 Blade Guard veterans. You don't need 5 to hold the middle with the Redemptor Dreadnought. Get rid of 2 Blade Guard veterans. Make this a 10-man Death Company. Have like 3 Thunderhammers, 7 swords. Make sure they're daisy chained to the captain, and they have full rerolls. And then, sure, then use your Quake Bolts, and you could probably do a decent amount of damage. But the one thing to say about that is, like, you become very predictable at that point, right? Like, people will know that you're going after that fight. What I'm trying to say, people will know that you're going desperately to try and get that that Forlorn Fury play, and if they deploy smartly out of 24 inches from you, then potentially it makes it very difficult to get that turn 1 Forlorn Fury, and that can shoehorn your list a little bit. But yeah, I think you have to drop a couple of Blade Guard. I think 5 is too many, and I think I would definitely like to see some more 3 damage weapons on this list, but not all in one squad like this. Like, this just doesn't work for me. I often, you know, some people talk about having all the units in the squad have the same weapons, because it makes, like, maneuvering them simple, right? Because you know every unit has the same weapons, so if one's in range, they're all in range, etc. I don't play by that. I play by have cheap models in every squad, so when your squad starts taking casualties, you take away the cheap models and keep your high value models alive, right? I always run my Sanguinary Guard with 1 Infernal Pistol. That guy with Infernal Pistol will be the last one to die every battle. And the same with the Death Company. You know, like, if you're running Thunderhammer Death Company, then everybody else will be dead, and you'll have one guy running around the board with Thunderhammer. Same with Vanguard Veterans. So I think you're going to struggle against Dark Angels with this. And then I guess as you move forward into other metas or other situations, then I don't like it, because you have very few 3 damage weapons. You have a decent amount of 1 damage, but I don't think it's enough. So I'd start by reworking a little bit of this, and then I kind of feel like if we are going to go the heavy support route, if you think about this with your Grav guys, at 135 points for your what is it, like, your 20 Grav shots, I mean, I'd be interested to know how those Grav cannons do up against multi-meltas. Like, it's hard to say, because the multi-meltas will wound on 2s, I guess, versus the Grav cannons wounding on 3s. Then these are 135 points is the cost of Eradicators at the moment, and when we did the math hammer on Eradicators, and I did do a video on Eradicators on the channel, Do you know what? Maybe if we skip through that video, Eradicators, Blood Angels. Hopefully, I'm the top search result. Yes, I am. I was going to say if I'm not the top search result, I suck at YouTube. But let's have a look and see real quick if we can see. I've got damage comparisons, and I'm pretty sure I included. Did I include Grav Devastators in this comparison? Maybe not. I feel like I've done Grav. I feel like in one of my videos I've compared Grav guns, but when you actually compare like damage per point, you know, like Eradicators, they're better than Centurions, they're better than Hellblasters, they're actually better than that super heavy tank that I ran before for damage per point, and they're better than Redemptors, they're better than Leviathan Dreadnoughts, they're better than Repulsors, Macroplasmas, or the heavy laser destroyers. So like this is why people run Eradicators. They're generally the best unit. And I mean, the Games Workshop try to make them worse, but even so, could you explain daisy chaining models and when? Yeah, I mean, I could explain it right now. Look, let me just let me put this on and just quickly. So we'll do it with the Vanguard veterans we're painting last night and the Redemptor that we've been painting. Here we go, right? Here's a Librarian. So, Forlong Fury for the Death Company says, pretend this line is my deployment zone, right? So this is my Sanguinary Priest and this is my Chapter Master deployed right at the front of my deployment zone. Now, Forlong Fury lets a model move... let me put this up a little bit, right? Pretend these Vanguard veterans are the Death Company, and Forlong Fury lets me move the Death Company 12 inches before the game, right? So I pretend this is 12 inches. It's not, but let's just pretend it's 12 inches. So I can move my squad forward 12 inches as a pre-game move, right? But if my squad's within 6 inches of these two characters, then potentially they can put me in Assault Doctrine and they can give me Chapter Master rerolls. And those are abilities that you cast once and they affect me until the beginning of the next command phase. So if halfway down this arrow is like here, and that means, or this metal bit is potentially the 6 inches away, I need to put my models within coherency, 2 inches, 2 inches, 2 inches. So like most of my Death Company are super far forward, right? So like keeping my charge distance against the enemy down after I move. But at the start of my turn, there are still models that are easily within the 6 inches, so they can be casted the buffs from my characters to essentially power up my Death Company as they, because you know if they just move their 12 inches forward, then they'll be out of any range of my models or my characters, so I can't do any. So I can't give them any of my buffs, Martin. So hopefully that explains it real quick. Yeah, so let's go ahead and score this list. And then, alright, so troops, OBSEC, 1 Infiltrator Squad, 2 Assault Intercessors, and I think he did have Rights of War, yeah, so I think we'll go with an 8-5. How's it going to do against, like, clearing out screens? I mean, the Grav Cannons can clear screens, we can definitely give him that. He also has a Redemptor that can do that as well. So clearing is probably reasonably decent. Can Vanguard veterans do it? I was thinking of having some Chainsword Shield Guys tank and shredding some Dark Elder with dual claws. Yes, Vanguard veterans can definitely run Storm Shields and Chainswords. You have to use Forlong Fury. I mean, that's the strategy that we're talking about here, using the Forlong Fury to move the Death Company 12 inches forward before the game, but still daisy chain them back to the characters. So you can get the buffs. But you can daisy chain in any situation. You just need to make sure that you obtain unit coherency. And if your so basically unit coherency is every model is within 2 inches of each other, and if the squad's got more than 5 guys, every model has to be within 2 inches of 2 other. And you can do that as well, just by making sure that you basically have them almost in like lines of 2. And you can daisy chain them that way as well. Okay, anti-vehicle monster. I think we all agree that this list's going to have a problem against that. We don't think the Grav Cannons are super effective. Eradicators are point for point the best thing. We don't have a whirlwind, so we can't make him fight last in any way, shape, or form, which would be very good against the Deathwing Knights, because the Deathwing Knights are slow, right? So you can predict what's going to be charged and when it's going to be charged, etc. So we've got that to basically help us as well. So against monsters, I'm thinking this is sort of slightly weaker, like maybe like a 7-5. And then mobility, I guess, is generally pretty fine. I mean, you're going to have some problems with these Devastators. If they move, they take -1 to hit. So I guess mobility is probably 7-5. And then specialization, like, we do not have enough 3 damage weapons in this. We also have this one weird Death Company squad that we spent ages talking about. And then the Devastators, really, I think you would be better off just having multi-metals. Hey Chris, thanks so much for following over on Twitch, much appreciated. So I think that's a 6 as well. So I think Simon's list comes in at like 38, and I don't think there's a lot that would need to be done to make it better, but yeah, I just think Eradicators or Attack Bite Multi-Meltas, they're just better. You know, like, it's going to be so difficult to punch through those Deathwing. The last thing you want to do is just punch 2 wounds into them and let them live. Whereas if you've got those fast attack bikes, you can zoom into half range, you can pop them with the -4 multi-meltas, you could null zone them, because he's got null zone. So you can null zone and hit them with -4 multi-meltas at half range. It's a minimum of 3 damage. At that point, you're pretty much killing them guaranteed on every hit and wound. You have the Chapter Master, so you can do those rerolls and all sorts. So yeah, it's not. I'd say this isn't a list I particularly like at all. Twitches in double figures, nice. That is so awesome. Thank you guys so much for watching over on Twitch as well today. Really appreciate that. We just hit triple figures and 100 Twitch subs as well, or you call them 100 followers on Twitch as well. So nice, awesome. I was actually so that is Simon's list. It's okay, but definitely improvements to be made. I was actually thinking about that Battle Sector game like the other day, because I haven't heard anything about it for a little while, and was thinking like, hey, so I need to add. Hopefully, this is added to my wish list on my actual Steam account. But yeah, I want to stream this Battle Sector game, because we had quite a lot of fun with that actually, like on Friday or Saturday nights when I'm not actually doing any work. Deathwing is slow, and their ranged defense is weak. Their combat is decent, but often not as punchy as Blood Angels or Space Wolves. I've scored this like 39 points for me. It suffered mostly in monster and tank hunting. Yeah, I mean, it does have 5 Thunderhammers. It just it kind of has them in a bit of a weird configuration, right? So moving on to list number 5 for today, and if you did like today's stream, just remember to hit that like button on YouTube. That's much appreciated, and thank you so much for all the support over on Twitch as well. And yeah, we're going to be back tomorrow night at 7:30 for that game against Necrons, so anyone, well, you're all welcome obviously, and hopefully we can do a number on the Necrons. I'm a little bit worried, and we are using the same list we've used for the last 8 games in a row now, so we're going to see if this. I'm so close to making this list have 10 wins in a row, so we really want to get it to 10 wins. So these last couple of games will feel high pressure. But yeah, we've got a few games coming up in these next 2 weeks, so it should be fun. I think we're going to play against Necron Sisters and then Death Guard again. Nice, thank you, Nimmer90 for following over on Twitch. Okay, so hi John, great content, or great work on the content, cracking channel. I have a list I currently run, looking for durability rather than all-out smash attack. I like this straight away, hopefully this is interesting. Here's my list, I'll write it next to the purpose for taking the unit. Bear in mind, this is a work in progress tournament list designed to be able to deal with almost all factions. This is also a great way to think about lists. It's good to think about trying to deal with everything. When the secondaries engage on all fronts in Oath of Moment are core secondaries in almost every game. Yeah, I mean, Oath of Moment is almost auto-include, right? Yes, and if you're new to the channel, you need to know that every time we talk about win streak, you have to take a shot. So One day we will do that on the channel. Every time we mention, we'll have like some keywords, and we'll definitely do it. Okay, so this is a battalion, I think. Yep, and it's bang on 2,000 points, and we're starting with 9 CP. So we have a librarian who has Unleash Rage, Shield of Sanguinius, Wings of Sanguinius. He is the chief librarian, and he's got that staff that I believe this is the Blood Angel staff that adds 1 to casts, and it's slightly more damage. This lad has the speed to be where he wants to apply the buffs. He's the chief librarian to give him access to wings, and he also has the relic to get the +1 cast. I don't run that staff all that much, but let's just double check its profile. I know it gives +1 to all Blood Angels casts, or all casts within the Sanguinary discipline, and I think it gives I think it gives something else. Maybe it's just damage. The bearer gains, add 1 to all psychic tests, and then it's strength +3, -2, and D3 damage. So it's kind of like the Warlord trait, but I guess it's just a staff that's going to make him more effective at being a Blood Angel Psyker. Okay, we then have the Primaris Captain, who has Iron Resolve, Rites of War, Angel's Exemplar, Visage of Death, and he is the Warlord. So he has the Heavy Bolt Pistol, Mastercrafted Power Sword, and Relic Shield. This lad is meant to be a tank designed to hop in a dedicated transport, the Impulsor, and along with the Blade Guard, head to the middle of the board for Oath of the Moment. If exposed, then the Impulsor can sit in the middle and rack up some points. He gives Obsec, he taketh away Obsec to enemies, and it's his and his men's objective. Now, job on. You know, the taketh away just reminded me of Monty Python for a minute. I think he's like, he taketh away? We then have the priest, who has the Selfless Healer, and he is what he is. Everybody knows what the Selfless Healer does. He said, what a lad. I actually love that, yeah. We just have a little pop-up on the stream that says, what a lad, every time he brings a unit back to life. Interesting to see a Primaris Captain in a dedicated transport. It's just a bit different, I guess, but I guess this is the Primaris Captain from Indominus. We then have Assault Intercessors 5. Intercessors 5 with a grenade launcher. I generally don't like that. I don't think the grenade launcher really brings much to the table. They do have auto bolt rifles. A lot of shots, 0 fucks given. I'd replace the grenade launcher with something better, probably. Did I miss the giveaway? The giveaway was earlier. You were in the list, but unfortunately I don't believe you won, Camille. I think it was Mikey, Creed, and Panzer were the winners today. But you know, we're shooting up towards the next 1,000 subscribers. I'm sure we'll have another giveaway. And you know what? We're giving away a bike to non-members next week as well, so you can enter that as well. So we're sort of just giving away stuff every now and then. For elites, we have the Blade Guard Veterans, and it's 5-man for the middle. And I think if you have the Impulsor there as well, 5-man might be one too many. Like, especially with a captain, if he's going to sit in the middle. And I agree straight away, Brian, in that an Incursor squad would be better than the Intercessor squads. Probably in both cases. I mean, I guess he's got a plan here where he's going to do some shooting with auto bolt rifles, and I guess Intercessors with auto bolt rifles will outdamage Incursors in terms of shooting, but not by much. And Incursors have that nice -1 AP combat blade in close combat, so it's 50-50. Another great thing about Incursors is you can also smokescreen the Incursors, right? Which is generally pretty strong. Yeah, thanks, Camille. And I like being able to smoke screen my troops, because sometimes your troops are on objectives, right, and you really need them to survive. Like it's going to make or break the next turn if they survive. So having smoke screen available, I think, is generally really nice. All right, so this is strange. A death company with jump packs and axes. So this is a death company designed to kill units with less than toughness 6. I don't think I've ever seen death company all with axes. It's usually a problem. I guess it depends if it's just going to deep strike and go after something in the backfield, Rezio, right? When I run death company, I never ran my death company Forlorn Fury. Like, I just never did. I've actually done more Forlorn Fury with my Death Company captain on a bike than I've actually done with my Death Company in all time. So little Death Companies that are going to drop in turn 2 and harass the backfield, that's actually fine with me. I mean, the one question here though is 5 Vanguard veterans with Storm Shields and Lightning Claws will probably do better than the Death Company with the Power Axes. And the reason that they'll do better, and I actually don't know the profile of the Power Axe for Death Company off the top of my head. Power Axe, Strength 6 -2, yeah. So the reason the Lightning Claw Vanguard veterans will probably do better is just simply the rerolls. And if we assume that Lightning Claw Vanguard veterans on the charge get 26 attacks, Death Company get 30 attacks. So, you know, we can just math it out like super quick. The Lightning Claw Vanguard veterans will be 10 points cheaper as well. So 6 times 5 for the Death Company. So you've got your 30 attacks hitting on 3s. So we'll basically end up with 20 hits. Let's say we're going to fight up against Toughness 5. That's what he said. So Toughness 5 you'll wound on 2s. So you'll end up with 20 times 0.8333. So they need to take 16 saves. If we use up our Vanguard veterans, they have 26 attacks, hitting on 3s as well. And then they'll wound on 4s but reroll everything. So it's 0.75 on 17. So yeah, do you know what? The Death Company will do a tiny bit more damage here against Toughness 5. But they are 10 points more expensive. So same AP, they do a few more damage. So yeah, do you know what? This little Death Company, I guess, if you're going to throw them into like Gravis units, this is actually going to be a pretty effective little Death Company. We know that Vanguard veterans are way more survivable than Death Company. So I guess you would lose a few attacks, or you'd lose a few points of damage, but the Vanguard veterans are like 70% more survivable than Death Company, what with the +1 save and the 4+ invulnerable save. So for me, again, I'd pick Vanguard veterans over this, because, and also Death Company can't do actions, so you got to consider that they can't fall back. Smokescreen is underrated. 100% agree. Smokescreen is amazing. And the one interesting thing about running Redemptors is Redemptors don't get Smokescreen, right? So it lets you keep your Smokescreen for those troop choices. So that's pretty important for me as well. We then have Assault Terminators, and there's 5 with Lightning Claws. These tough guys will either flank or reinforce and drop in the middle with Oath, and they will protect the Blade Guard. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. We talked about this earlier. The Teleport Homer for me doesn't feel valuable on the Terminators. It sounds good on paper, but in reality, not so sure. Speaking of the Vanguard veterans, he then has 2 5-man squads of them with Storm Shields. And he said, these are like your mate that always have your back. I find these are worth so much more than Sanguinary Guard. They're just epic. That's why there's 2 squads of them. I actually find the Sanguinary Guard are better than the Death Company. So it's interesting to see that he prefers 2 Death Company and 2 Vanguard veterans. We then have Inceptors with the Plasmas. Squad of 3, always overcharging if they're in range of the captain. The Whirlwind, obviously, with the Castellan, with the Stratagem. You can't charge the enemy because they're always just going to suppress him. And then Pulsar to hold up the middle with the Shield Dome. And thank you, John. I hope you can share some insight into this list. I definitely change Thunderhammer and Storm Shields for the Terminators. You have Vanguard veterans for Lightning Claws. Yeah, that's maybe a good point. I mean, and then how many 3 damage weapons or above do we have in this list? We have the Staff. We have that's it. So we only have 1 3 damage weapon in this list. And what did he say at the beginning about he's trying to build a list that deals with all factions. Alright, so we'll start scoring it, and what will be interesting is it deals with some factions. I think it'll deal pretty well with some factions. However, I think it's going to come unstuck against Death Guard. And I know you guys hate when I always talk about Death Guard, but I think it will maybe come unstuck against Death Guard. And I think it may come unstuck against Custodies as well, because, like I said, there's very few high AP weapons in here, and multiple damage weapons. So when they have to make a lot of saves, and they generally make those saves, they're gonna make them. I think I agree in that I get Thunderhammers onto those Terminators. I'd probably drop a Blade Guard Veteran if we need the points to do that. And yeah, I wish there was another way we could get some more 3 damage weapons in this list. Like, could some of the Sergeants for the Vanguard Veterans take Thunderhammers? I mean, it's like 9 more points. Thunderhammers are generally reasonably costed on Vanguard Veterans compared to like Death Company Marines. Insufficient anti-tank, Gitley says. Yeah, I mean that's kind of what I'm thinking. It feels like it's maybe a little bit all over the place with that. Okay, so OBSEC then, we have 2 Intercessor squads, an Assault Intercessor squad. We do have Visage of Death and Rites of War, but I do miss the fact that there's no Phobos units here. So we've got no... The great thing about Phobos units is 1 CP, you can pop guerrilla tactics to perform actions such as like scramblers and stuff, and it's super strong. Maybe an 8 here. Intercessors are not particularly great for holding backfield. Again, we talked about how you can't use smokescreen on them, so sometimes, I mean, you can transhuman them, but like I feel like you want to save your transhuman for the Blade Guard. Okay, how's it going to clear screens? I mean, it's probably going to clear screens pretty okay. I mean, you've got your auto bolt rifles here. You've got 30 shots. You've got your Inceptors. But beyond that, I guess you've got your Whirlwind as well. It's probably like an 8. I feel like it could use a little bit more firepower as well. The one thing to say is like we do have an Impulsor taking up 125 points. I mean, I'd probably rather just take the captain and make him like a jump captain or a captain on a bike, and then save the Impulsor points for a bit more shooting. I generally put my Blade Guard Veteran in the middle of the map for Oath of Moment, and I don't have a transport, and I don't have a problem with it. I generally score high on Oath of Moment as well, because you usually score, let's say you fail 1 leadership test a game, you get 4 points from Oath of Moment. Let's say you kill a vehicle and character on 3 out of the 5 turns. That's you at 7. So if you're in the middle of the map for like 3 turns, you're already at 13. So Oath of the Moment is generally easy to score. I don't know if you need to spend 125 points on a transport to get all those, right? Like, I think you'd be okay without that. So, but I mean, we'll score the list as is. Against monsters and armor, I have a problem with this list, right? Like, and I guess in Death Guard it's going to be a problem as well, but like I'm going to score that negatively over here. So monsters and armor I think is going to be an 8. Mobility is again going to probably be like an 8. I guess we've got these three guys on foot, and then we've also got the Blade Guard veterans, so maybe it's even a 7-5. And I really do think one of these squads needs to become incursors, because it will help you so much with, like, if you ever pick scramblers, because you can have the incursors in your own deployment zone. You pay 1 CP, you can put them back into strategic reserve in the same turn, bring them back onto the map, and do scramblers in either the other of the 2 options. And I've used that so many times recently. And auto bolt rifles, I mean, is fine, but it's only 5 more shots than you're going to get off the normal incursors. And incursors also have concealed positions, so they can start in obscuring positions on objectives. They don't have to run across the battlefield like these guys have to. And sometimes that can make a difference as well. So yeah, mobility is 7-5, and then specialization, like, it definitely doesn't have enough 3 damage weapons. I mean, it has some great squads like the Lightning Claw guys. I do think Thunderhammers would help pull up the 3 damage weapons. But also, like, I like the captain on the bike, because the captain on the bike gets a 14-inch base move, and potentially 6. Well, he auto advances another 6, right? So the great thing about the captain on the bike is, when we were playing against the Straya super heavy tank, I deployed the captain on a flank, and then the super heavy tank ended up being in the middle of the board. And one of the things that I thought would, or one of the plays that I did in that game, was I actually moved the bike 14 inches and then advanced it 6 to get it within 6 of the Sangre Guard, to give them the +1 to hit and the rerolls of 1s. And I could have made a 9-inch charge with the bike, but I thought to myself, like, I'm just going to take the percentage play here and make the auto 6 inches advance and make sure that the Sangre Guard all get the buff. And this list as well is all Death Company over Sangre Guard, and I don't know why you think Death Company are stronger than Sangre Guard, but the answer is that they're not. The -1 to hit them in melee on Sangre Guard is pretty significant. The +1 to their armor save again is significant, and for the points, right? Like this squad here costs the exact same points as Sangre Guard, and the Sangre Guard, for the most part, all their weapons will do 2 damage as opposed to 1. And if you want to run them with the axes, you can do that as well. So this needs more cowbell. Yeah. So I think specialization is like a 7 here. We're probably missing some shooting, maybe even 6-5. We're definitely. I feel like we're definitely missing some shooting. We're definitely also, like, I don't like spending 125 points on transport. I mean, it is what it is. If you want to spend it on the transport, fine. But also, we only have like 1 3 damage weapon. So if you're going to run into Death Guard, I think you're going to have problems. We talked about Deathwing in the last few minutes as well. I think you're going to have problems against that as well. So I think that brings us in as 38. So I think James comes in today as today's winner. Not that it really matters, but well done, James, on the best list today. And hopefully you guys have enjoyed the stream. I really appreciate all the follows we've been getting on Twitch. I really stalled out on Twitch, and I was trying to get it up. So if any of you guys are watching tomorrow night's battle, if you want to also tune in on Twitch, it would be super appreciated. 39 for Tony scoring this list as well. And yeah, congrats again on the guys for the giveaway. I'll make sure I contact you soon. I'll also put all these lists into the comments section after the stream, so if anyone wants to catch them, they can do that there. And as always, after Monday night, we'll be back some point next week. Thank you for subscribing, Melvin. Appreciate that. We'll be back next week, we're back tomorrow, and then we'll be back on probably like Thursday with a hobby hangout, and then probably like Friday with another tactics video. So keeping it going, new content every week. And thank you so much for watching. Quite a lot of people watched today. It seemed like we had like 40 or 50 people viewing the whole stream, so that's really nice to see. Hopefully I gave you some suggestions. And the last thing we're going to do is have a quick look at who's up next week. So next week's lists are Jason Rees, Big Chief, Zacharias Wade, Kevlar M, and Sam Melhushuni. Hopefully, I butcher people's names every week, I'm sorry. And the week after that, 2 weeks ahead, is Steel Rain, Tony, Jack Walker, Lloyd Heaton, and Nick the Watcher. So, yeah, thank you so much for all the submissions. We'll keep it going. And you want a link into the Discord? Sure. Let's quickly generate a link to Discord. And yeah, please, if you haven't joined the Discord, you should join it this week, because we're doing another giveaway this week. So here's a link to the Discord in the chat if anyone wants to grab that. Cool. Alright, have a great rest of your Sunday, guys. Thank you very much for watching. Hopefully we'll see some of you guys tomorrow for our live battle against Necrons. It is going to be 80 Necron warriors, so I mean, if nothing else, there should be a lot of revivals and killings, and yeah, it should be a fun battle. But yeah, cheers to all the Twitch crowd, very much appreciated. Highland Dante, very, very cool name. And yeah, enjoy the rest of your Sunday, guys. We'll see you all soon. By the blood are we made. Peace.